Racing season is all about picking your place and positioning for tasty combinations. Ooh, one of them and all of them. Just like a sports bet racing multi.
Now with more places. Combine horses to finish top 5, 6, 7 and get bigger odds.
Thank you, waiter.
More places. New from Sportsbet.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Tassie's in a bit of a mess. There's so many massive problems that need fixing.
But Liberal and Labor politicians are focused on boosting corporate profits and building $1 billion stadium instead.
Something needs to change.
With a new government and the Greens' imbalance of power, we'll fight to
make housing affordable,
tackle the health crisis,
and protect Tasmania's unique environment.
All of this is possible.
Let's make it happen.
Authorised by Jay McCall, Australian Greens, Canberra.
Two old rivals go at it again, VFL style. Long, left foot snap is good. Pies get the opening goal. Monahan back to Bins. Oh, that's great play. Advantage paid. Crocker this time with a drop on Lewis. He's having a day out against his former mob. And he takes Hartman to the post. Ouch. It's still alive. It's still in play. Picked up by White, who snaps the goal. 48 metres out. And the Pies make their move. And he missed with the fist. It's long enough. Lead change 12. Around the body. Here come the Blues. Long, of course. Got boots a ball and gets it done for the Pies. 24 goals, 14 lead changes. A Sunday feast to enjoy. Collingwood prevail by a solitary point.
That was 2024. What a game it was. Two great rivals with a wonderful history of thrilling clashes go head-to-head on Saturday night football. Collingwood and Carlton both enter, having won 5 of their last 7. The Blues have turned their season around and given their legion of fans something to believe in. The Magpies squarely in the top 4 mix in Andy Otten's first season as VFL coach. They ended round 15 level on 4th with points with 4th spot and sitting right there in the premiership mix. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Night Football. Jason Bennett alongside Nigel Carmody and Libby Birch. And Lib, we're getting down to the pointy end of the season. There's something for everyone to play for. If you're a Collingwood player, you're looking at a potential AFL finals campaign. If you're a Carlton player, well, you might be fighting for your future.
Yeah, it's going to be huge in the contest tonight. A massive game in the scheme of things, particularly with VFL finals on the line. But these two teams only had 4 wins in 2024, so huge improvement across the board.
It's going to be some very interested Carlton fans tuning in tonight. Nudge, there's been some big changes. Michael Voss swung the axe last week. If you're on the outside looking in right now at Carlton, what are you focusing on?
Pretty simple, ball use. So outscored off turnover by about 6 or 7 goals in the AFL last night. They got a defence to kick into tonight that features 3 excellent interceptors in Charlie Dean, Sam Glover and Ilaro Smith, who's been repurposed back there in recent weeks by the Pies. Carlton need to be more precise in the front half of the ground. It's stating the obvious. The other aspect to this is Carlton's wins in the VFL this season have been against teams that are occupying the bottom third of the table. Tonight they meet a team that are at the foot of the top third.
Can they claim a scalp tonight, the Blues? They've won 5 of their last 7. Will White, one of those players fighting to work his way back into the senior side. Here he is with Macca.
Well, this man's been really one of the shining lights, I think, from a Carlton perspective this year. Will, obviously back in the VFL, but you've really cemented yourself for a good couple of months there in the AFL side. How's your confidence and your belief? It must have just gone from strength to strength.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, I love being at the club. I'm obviously a Carlton supporter, so the passion for the club runs deep. So, I just love putting on the Guernsey every day. It feels like a debut every time I put it on, to be honest.
How's you feeling in your role and in your sort of security in the side? I mean, what are you working on and what are the coaches sort of telling you in terms of your footy?
Yeah, I'm just trying to play my role, to be honest, and just keep working hard. I feel like I've always been a hard worker, so just continue to play my role, and the coaches will back me in every week. Just consistently work on my contest and pressure, as that's a value within our club, so I just got to keep working hard on those areas.
Now, I was going to say, in a 60-metre sprint, you'd be number 1, but you're telling me maybe Heath Ramshaw's got you covered?
Yeah, Heath Ramshaw's got me covered, and then Big Sardi, he's pretty quick, so I'd like to think I'd be in the top 3, but I reckon they've got me.
Oh, I'm backing you in, mate. I'm backing you in. Hey, good luck tonight.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good on you, Will.
Thanks.
Thanks to Macca with Will White. Meanwhile, the Magpies grappling with a lengthy injury list. 10 AFL players currently sidelined, most of those for an extended period, which means potential opportunities for the likes of Harry Di Mattia, who's working towards an AFL debut in his second season on the list. And here he is with Macca.
This man's been on fire, 27 disposals on average since round 7, Harry. You've been named emergency a couple of times now. You must feel like maybe an AFL debut potentially isn't far away. Would you be ready? You feel like you're in good form?
Yeah, I feel like I am just trying to go out there and play my role each week. I've obviously enjoyed coming into the midfield since then. It's been really good to work with Titch in there the last couple of weeks, and now he's gone up and I feel like I can kind of take that onus, fill the void that he's left. So I feel like my game and my body is up to AFL level when I get the chance.
Brilliant. Has Fly sort of spoken to you? Because he's blooded a couple of guys, Charlie West, Ryan Steele last night. Has he sort of said maybe just be ready in the last sort of couple of months?
Yeah. We've had frequent conversations, and our mid-season catch-up a couple of weeks ago was really positive. Just out of my control, just keep doing what I can do, just keep playing good footy, consistent footy, playing my role, and I'll get my chance.
Yeah. Now, I know cricket season's a long way away, but are the Whites going to come out again? I know you're a very good cricketer. Ran those drinks out at David Warner Boxing Day, he's double 100. Are you going to pull the Whites out this summer?
I pulled them out once last summer and I had a good knock, so potentially, maybe with a few of the boys. I know Harry Perryman wants to have a game, so we might play together.
All right, well, you've got a footy season to finish first, mate, before we get to those Whites, so good luck tonight.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks to Macca with Harry. Let's check those lineups. Nudge, thanks to Truck Assist. We'll start with the Pies.
We get Charlie Dean back from AFL level. Will Parker, after playing 33% game time last night and having 5 touches against the Blues. 2 debutants, Doug Kerr, an 18-year-old from St Kevin's, and the Oakley Chargers, and Jake Watts, a 21-year-old from Shepparton.
And leave the Carlton lineup.
Yeah, Voss shuffled some VFL talent up to AFL last night. So 2 players to keep an eye on tonight. Flynn Young, he played 22% game time last night. And Billy Wilson comes back to the VFL after debuting last week. So a couple of players there to keep your eye on.
Yeah, so both the subs from last night getting another opportunity to run around and impress this evening. 2 teams in good form, looking to continue their mid-season rise. It's Collingwood, it's Carlton, and it's next on Saturday Night Footy.
This VFL telecast is brought to you by Macca's new $6.95 McSmart meal. What side are you on? This VFL telecast is brought to you by Truck Assist. Hard-working truck and equipment cover, built for tradies by the experts.
Prime time, Saturday night, 7 VFL from Icon Park. Collingwood and Carlton, round 15 action. 2 skippers come together, Sam Glover and Heath Ramshaw. Pies win the toss. I'll kick to the left of screen in the opening term. Libby Birch, your keys to the game this evening.
Yeah, the Pies have to be up defensively. They need to number off quickly and be organised. The Blues are 5th in the comp for uncontested marks, and the Pies let 160 marks go against the Sharks last week. Way too many. The Blues layering around the contest is going to be super important. That contest battle tonight. The Pies haven't won clearance all year, so if they can get that right, they'll get on top early. And the Blues entries. Nudge spoke about this before the match, but their ball use is going to be so important. That off-the-line kick to stop the Pies' intercepting game.
Carlton have recovered from a poor start to their VFL season. They lost 4 of their first 5. They've since won 5 of 7 to be knocking on the door of the top 10. Collingwood have strung back-to-back wins together on 3 occasions. Chance tonight to win 3 in a row. If they can do so, they remain in the top 4 discussion, but lose and they fall a game off the pace. Critical game, Saturday Night Footy. It's Carlton and Collingwood at Icon Park.
And haven't we got our work cut out tonight? 2 Marnies, 2 Camporeales, a Will Hayes in both teams, and 2 Youngs for the Blues. One of those Camporeales you mentioned, Ben, gets the opening touch. Bin's lurking in front of Durden. And the experience spread from an AFL perspective, interesting tonight. Mason Cox, 125 of the 143 games of AFL experience brandished amongst the Pies, who've got 8 AFL listed players, 4 who've seen the highest level. Our opening term, of course, with thanks to Truck Assist. Steen the tap down. Shark by Durden, who slammed the kick to Lemmy. Was he being held? It won't matter. Flynn Young on the backup has the first. Liv, the Truck Assist replay, at least the tail end, will tell a little bit more of the story of the Lemmy free kick. And Flynn Young off 22% game time at the G last night has got very much fresh legs.
Oh, absolutely. But that's an excellent start by Carlton. A good clearance, some forward half momentum, and Lemmy playing in front. That's what you want from your forwards.
Good start for the Blues. Both these teams enter having won 5 of their last 7 games, so one of them will keep that momentum rolling. Blues trying to close in on the top 10. Collingwood trying to close in on the top 4. Flynn Riley, who impressed last week for the Blues, in the ruck against Steen. Here is Di Mattia. Managed to get boot to ball, bounces towards half forward. This might work well here for Will Hayes. His kick inside 50. Lewis Young can feed it back, has support. Phillips to Monahan. Hugs the boundary line. Does Boyd get there in time? No, he does not. But buys him a little bit of time. You can see the smirk on his face. Just punches the football away. And, of course, the VFL takes a bit longer to get back. Allows his defenders to push back and cover. Smart football from Jordan Boyd.
Harry Marnie with the entry inside forward 50. Kerr with the outside of the boot. Debutant wearing number 81 tonight for the Pies via the Oakley Chargers and ACL last year. In some respects, took him out of draft calculations. He played just the 3 games for Oakley. He's had an excellent start to the season, averaging 17.5 possessions a game in 5 matches.
So am I right in saying because of that nudge, even though he's an overager, he's still NGA eligible?
Yeah, well, 19, so able to play in the Coates Talent League this year and remains in Collingwood and every other club's sights in a draft that's going to be tricky to navigate. There's so much discussion about the presence of NGA and academy prospects like a Doug Kerr in this year's draft pool, but he'll of course be available to all clubs at the right price.
So Riley will go against Steen. Riley got the tap. Was looking for Dozzy. Blues got some numbers around this one. Ben Campriale coming off an impressive game last week to his brother Lucas. Riley goes inside to Dozzy. Dozzy will kick towards half forward. Lemmy provides the presentation, gets past he and Smith. And Dean happy to see it over and out.
Early on, you can already see the Blues' dominance around the stoppage, able to handball out, but I'd love to see those handballs come through the corridor a little bit more. They're using the far boundary side, but if you're winning that clearance, come through the middle. It's the easiest way to attack.
Plenty of attention tonight, as Nudge mentioned, on ball use. Players who can kick the football. Carlton's woes at AFL level in that department, well documented. Phillips the punch. Wilson got an opportunity last week, but finds himself back in the VFL this week after having 7 possessions and a couple of tackles against Port. Riley the tap. There's Kerr. Doug Kerr got the handball. Durden used the body on Max Marnie. So Corey Durden, who's played 9 AFL games this season, also finds himself on the outside looking in.
One of the more experienced AFL players in Carlton's VFL lineup tonight. They've got 13 off their AFL list playing. He, Lewis Young and Jordan Boyd with 171 games at the highest level between them. Brady Gray, who's had time at the highest level, as we know, is camped upon by Flynn Riley.
Saw the ladder there. Carlton in front at the moment. That's a live ladder, of course. So if they win tonight, they do jump into the top 10, albeit temporarily, because Casey and Coburg play tomorrow.
Carlton off an 11-point win against Port last Saturday night. The Pies having the better of the Sharks, no less, at Frankhauser Reserve last weekend. Monahan with the intercept and retreats by hand for Phillips. Now look at them fan back horizontally. Cox awake to it. Tried to close down on Lewis Young. And here comes the trick for the Blues at all levels of the game.
Yeah, it's a great press from the Pies. Carlton had to concede about 35 metres, but they work it through Boyd to Hogg, straight up the middle. This is a good start. Dozzy, almost, but there's the problem. Misses the target. Had Ben Campriale wide open and missed him. Binns. Campriale. Now Young. Over the top. They work their way through the puzzle and kick their second through Lemmy.
Well, there was a little mistake up in that mid part of the section there, thanks to truck assist, but it was the uncontested mark game that the Blues chained down the ground, and then to be able to regain from that turnover sets a primitive position for this team to attack the forward half.
Harry Lemmy, 27-11 for the season, and if it wasn't for the Flynn Young advantage paid to start the game, that might be 28. He continues to press his claims for an AFL debut. Riley tangling with Steen. Di Mattia. Gray was the run receive. Tried to kick to the advantage of Howes. It got over the head of the Collingwood options, and it's Phillips who again wants to short 45 and retreating for Lewis Young, who sells Charlton into some trouble. That kick's aggressive. Pressing forward once again was Dean as the chief interceptor for the Pies. He was helped by O'Brien. Will Hayes for the Pies. O'Brien. Will Hayes for Carlton intervenes. Ben Campriali back to Will Hayes for the Blues. There's numbers down the line, and that would have been spectacular from Steen. He couldn't complete it, and the door is flung wide open for the Blues. Riley to bins, Smith playing in front. Collingwood win it back.
Good battle, that one tonight. A couple of young guns in Lemmy versus Smith. Marnie chips it to Brady Gray. It's almost a throwback long sleeve Collingwood jumper. Looks magnificent. Gives it off to Cochrane, uses his speed off half-back. Now to Parker, sub last night. He turns it over straight to Wilson, who feeds it back to Will Hayes. Hayes can go to Will White, who's wearing Matt Carroll's jumper. They haven't got the 37. So Matt Carroll's coughed up his 32 tonight. He doesn't need it. Will White's got it on.
I love the interview pre-game, just the enthusiasm of this young player. It's a shining light for the club at the moment.
Grew up just a passionate Carlton man. Asked Jackson Binns last night, who bleeds navy blue at this club right now? And he said without hesitation, this man, Will White, just lives and breathes Carlton. Sets it up. Good spoil over the top. Opportunity here for Harrison Kennedy. He dishes it off. Jake Watts on debut, gets an early touch. Run down from the back was Air. Di Mattia comes in on clean-up duty. Just pumps it long inside 50. Phillips tries to work his man Mason under the football. Sweeping through. Opportunity on the run. Harrison Kennedy sizes them up and misses right.
A lot of transition in this game tonight, up and down the ground. So early on in this match, there's going to be a lot of running involved. So where you can, the players need to try and create a contest to get their shape behind the footy.
Wilson going to make Will White work for it. Running support arrives in the form of Warburton, who played a couple of games last year for the Pies. He misses his option. Dean tried to find Parker. Nelson back into the team tonight. Skies it. Who gets eyes on it first? Bringing it to ground was Dozzy. Durden, clever, extricates himself, but couldn't put the required polish on the shot. Corey Durden's third VFL game of the season tonight. 11-6 in 9 matches at AFL level, but the Blues asking some questions of Andy Otten's team in the opening 10 minutes. 6 inside 50s to 4. Carlton having the better of it. Charlton goes up, coming off his best game last week. Was very impressive with 27 touches, 7 rebound 50s. Another who will be knocking on the coach's door saying, hey, I'm in some pretty good form. And that's a beautiful kick towards Lemmy, who couldn't quite haul it in. Lucas Campriali to put pressure on Watts. Watts cops it up to Binns. Now to Campriali. Off to Durden on the left. Can't quite get the angle right. Another minor score for Corey.
It's a brilliant win there by the Blues to keep it in their forward half. Charlton playing proactively and in front, and that's a terrific intercept mark, enabling another re-entry inside 50.
Charlie Dean got his opportunity in the AFL off winning a Fothergill round Mitchell medal with Williamstown. Calls his shot. Steen's going to get there. Across the front, Riley claiming it. Won't get it. Got via Cox to Durden, who runs through 3 Pies to kick. They got the spare back, and the lift for Glover. Quickly to Di Mattia. Punching ball, missed its option. Wilson back to Boyd, and there's space aplenty on the wing for Warburton. He'll draw an opponent in Marnie and spread it wide for White, who gets the skates on. Looks inboard, thinks longer, deeper, and with good reason. Terrific mark from Denver Granger Barras, who puts it on a plate for Binns. Libby Birch, as we see on the truck assist replay once again. It's a terrific opportunity for Carlton tonight to test themselves against Collingwood's system, a system that's undermanned, and right now they're exploiting it.
It's huge, and having spoken to someone from the Carlton Football Club, they've been the shining light of the club at the moment. So much momentum in this side. They've won 3 of the last 4, as you see some of the AFL players there. But at the moment, the Blues are exposing the Pies off turnover, 2 goals.
Good start from Carlton, 5 shots to 1. Free kick for a hold. It's going to Oscar Steen. So the Pies just need to get their feet underneath them a little bit here. The Blues have got away to a great start. Steen just launches it high and long. Mason Cox will present. Young got the fist. Ball spills out. Monahan goes for it. Well done, Cox. Flynn Young was clean. Lewis Young. Hogg off to Will Hayes. Kicks to space but overhit the kick, and Glover picks it off. So Sam Glover spent some time as a Blue back in the Northern Blues days in 16 and 17. He plays on, runs around Nelson, delivers inside 50, the spoil from behind. Monahan comes in. Hayes off to Lewis Young. Lewis Young turns it over. Watts gives it up. Di Mattia keeps it moving. Handball over the top. Bennett's fed through. O'Brien goes bang, and Collingwood have their first. Matt O'Brien, his first VFL goal in game number 2. The youngster from St Paul's, McKinnon. On the truck assist replays we see. Joining us on the headset, Brady Gray. Brady, lovely to have you back in the VFL. You played 15 games for Box Hill back in 2022. Great to have you back.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a bit different to Perth weather, but enjoying the challenge.
So back then you were the Indigenous Development Manager at Box Hill. You've now got a similar role at Collingwood?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. So just working with our academy players, the 1 to 4, in an off-field capacity, and then trying to get a kick on the weekends with the VFL team.
Tell us a little bit about some of the youngsters. Who's really caught your eye and impressed you this year?
I think you've seen probably over the last 6 or 7 weeks with the AFL squad, we've sort of spun a few through. Obviously, Will Hayes has played a couple of games. Charlie West debuted last week. 2 of our first-year players, which have really come on, and they've walked into a really good system. You see Joel Cochran out here is really starting to find his feet. And Harry DiMattia playing midfield sort of the last 6 or 7 weeks is really starting to find his feet at VFL level, and hopefully he gets his chance in the next few weeks.
Will, what of the VFL listed players, and especially some of the younger guys, who stood out in regard to their development through the first 2/3 of the season?
I think early on, certainly Riley Mason and Josh Brown, both having their first crack with Collingwood, were in the mix for mid-season, so I think that showed how well they adapted to the VFL program. And then sort of the last few weeks, we've had to sort of bring a few in. We've got Josh Schwartz having his first game today. Ned Byrne played last week, both from Shepparton. So, all starting to get their chance. And obviously Dougie Kerr from our under-19s is having a first crack tonight. So we've really sort of shown some growth. Obviously, we struggled last year, so to be in the mix of finals is where we want to be.
Brady, great insight for the audience. Go get out there, and also well done on the long sleeves. It is a throwback.
We love it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be running it most of the season. Cheers.
Brady Gray joining us on the headset. Collingwood with the behind off the Joel Cochran kick. So margin back to 12. Boyd to Phillips. Phillips to Boyd. And they want the short. Could be forced into the long here, Boyd. Get around Murphy. Do well to find Monahan, who heads for the circle and wide. Watts was a presence. Warburton's ground ball was vital. Dozzy shaped, waited for Ramshaw. Bin slides into space. It's right on his range. Presenting into the pocket is White, who's been on his bike, and again, they're quick to reference. It's a really concerted effort here, Libby, to hit up those short kicks and do it quickly.
I absolutely love how the Blues are playing at the moment. They've been very predictable to one another. It's clear instruction to go short and then change the angle through the middle of the ground. And it hasn't been perfect, but they've had the numbers there to cope with it.
Darcy Hogg's been a standout for Carlton this season. Can't continue that with a 10th major.
Charlie Dean with a kick in. Takes the short option. This is Ryanair. Back to Dean. A fumble now under pressure. In comes Young. Umpire said no prior, but the Blues force a stoppage within range of goal.
Yeah, very costly error there. It could have easily been holding the ball. Sam Glover saving the day.
Flynn against Cox, almost for Will Hayes. Well done by Doug Kirk. Feeds it to the outside to Max Marnie. He goes to a 2-on-1. Phillips works his man under the football. Be first to get back onto it. Has Monaghan, who can look inside to his fellow Irishman, Duffy. Duffy now changes angles. They look to move through the middle. That's not a great handball from Lewis Young, but Ollie Warburton has got time to clean it up. Lucas Campriali. Short ball to Dozzy. Here are those uncontested marks, Liv, you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, they're fifth in the competition for short kicks and they're fifth in the competition for uncontested marks. So this would have been something they looked at. The Pies have to close off these uncontested marks, just like that.
Aggressive from Hayes, and it is cut off this time by Josh Bennett. Can the Pies punish them now back the other way themselves? Harry Marnie. Blues stream their numbers back. Jake Watts to the outside. He's got a runner in Parker. Down the line if he wants him. Still there, Will Parker, bottom left of your screen. Just hiding behind the scorebug. To the pocket, well done, Lewis Young.
Good to see him in the defensive line. Obviously can play anywhere on the ground, has been good up forward for the AFL side, but good defensive mark there by Lewis Young.
Hayes for Carlton, back to Lewis Young, to Warburton, who's been busy. Hogg, Wilson, now forced to kick. Not sure it was intentional, but they'll take it. Lucas Campriali, Binns holding his width. 2 to beat here. Smith goes back. Could have gone the mark. Instead, gets a hand on it, knocks it out. And Ilaro Smith, 4 intercept marks against Southport last week. He's been more a ruckman in his time thus far, but again, with the depth they've got in that position, Darcy Cameron holding it down at AFL level. Oscar Steen with first crack at it tonight. And now this man, Mason Cox. Smith showing some good style in defence. Mulvogue. Parker, the other sub from last night. He's showing no ill effects to Fine Howes.
So Noah Howes, who was picked up in the mid-season draft. Playing game 4 tonight for the Pies. That kick beats all comers and out. So Lib, on that last build-up from Carlton, we saw them take the uncontested options and build the ball up slowly, but the key to it, and they have this problem at AFL level as well, is to make sure there's a marking target on the end of it when you go inside 50.
Absolutely, you need beacons of forwards down there in good spots, but I love how they're going past halfway and then getting a handball receive or getting some speed on the ball, because that puts the defenders under pressure when entering inside 50.
Will Hayes getting plenty of it as always. An elite player at this level. Ben Campriali comes in, takes him down. Nudge, you know Will Hayes extremely well. Used to manage him years ago. In and out of footy, in and out of racing. Very much in racing at the moment, but just what a plug-and-play option at VFL level.
He likes being busy. He was on the bricks of the Flemington Mounting Yard 3 hours ago, seeing off the back half of the Winter Finals program after his twin brother JD did the opening half of the day. Probably started his day long before most of us at Pakenham track work, is normally his lot. Dozzy to Binns. Getting out the back was Granger Barras. Mulvogue can bunny hop his way free, but Durden is a-coming. Pressured kick from Mulvogue. Kennedy, fend off from Monaghan. Throws it overhead. Lurking inside his Hogg. Went without it after the Vickery hand pass. But they're working in number, the Blues. Marnie handballed it over his head. Mason, Kerr, Bennett, Marnie, the no look and the give back to Kerr, who shoves the handball inboard and says to Gray, go and get it. And he missed the ground ball. He doesn't miss Campriali on the tackle, but he got it free to Charlton. And again, the Blues turn it over. Binns marks. Glover holds him up.
Yeah, it's good professional pressure there from Glover. Did just enough to buy 5 seconds. Dozzy back inside. We've played 22 1/4 minutes opening terms. Saturday night footy at Icon Park. Blues by 13 points. Phillips. Now Vickery. Late inclusion last week. Played well, did enough to hold his spot. Kick towards Flynn Young, and well done by Max Marnie, the second of the Marnie brothers. His older brother Harry, 22 years of age. Max is 18. Both been at Mansfield since the Auskick days. Family. Dad Billy played 250 games at Mansfield. His mum Kath was an A-grade netballer. Their cousin won the best and fairest up there last year and played ex-Collingwood VFL. So a lot of people tuning in from Mansfield tonight. Great to have you with us to watch the Marnie boys do their thing. Here's Dozzy doing his. Quick kick inside 50, awkward bounce. Dean will be happy to see this to the line. Pressure there from Nelson. It actually doesn't go out. Will Parker spirals it back. Flynn couldn't control it. Cox did. Handball off. Good tackle from the big man. Back to Mason Cox. Quick kick under pressure. Charlton will cut it off and links up with Duffy.
And away go the Blues once again through the agency of Monahan. Glover back with the flight. And that's what Carlton can ill afford. Those high, long, loopy balls. Glover to Gray. And Collingwood get it started from the back. Ryanair, 2 pies there. Kennedy takes it and should have an option further along the line. That now presents itself in the form of Mason. Marnie stretching into space, presenting was Murphy, who decides to hand pass back to Kennedy, who's trapped by Boyd. Kick off the instep. Ramshaw, Ben Camporeale, Hogg, taken down by Bennett, who did more than enough to be rewarded.
Better pressure there by the Pies. That's just their 8th tackle, so they need to lift their intensity.
Feels like they've got their feet underneath them a bit, Lib, in the last 5 minutes. Margin sits at 13 points. Collingwood have worked their way into the game, and they'll get an opportunity through Riley Mason. He's kicked 20 goals, 7 in his 11 games this season. He is accurate. And a great opportunity here to close the gap after Carlton got away to a very bright start. Riley Mason, who was on the mid-season draft radar this season, got away to a flying start. 5 goals against Coburg in round 3 and then 4 goals against Sydney and the Bull Ants. Speaking of the Bull Ants, racked up their first win in 21 games this afternoon. More on that coming up at half-time as we take you around the grounds. Riley Mason, 35 out. We mentioned his accuracy. He's on the board. 7-point game.
Well, it was a better build-up by the Pies, all off the back of better ball use from their back half. Glover has been so good early with a couple of intercept marks, but Riley Mason, the Oppo have been trying to put clamps on him for weeks now, and he's just finding new ways to find the footy.
So since the Binns goal to make it 19 points at the 12-minute mark, Collingwood have kicked the only 2 goals. They've had 8 inside 50s to 6. Riley favoured by the bounce. Gray favoured by the tap. Took on Durden. Got the half-volley kick. Flying was Phillips. Monahan, Wilson. Runs a curve to find Phillips eventually, who again wants to kick sideways or back to Lewis Young.
Lib, you can see the emphasis on retaining possession here as opposed to just getting territory.
Well, in the change rooms, we call it pressured to unpressured, and that's the ability to go from a pressured situation, find a mark, and then start your offence from there.
Warburton and Charleston were original options for Lewis Young. They both end up with touches in the sequence. Lucas Camporeale, Wilson. It's teasing distance for kicks. Hogg in the centre is one of them. Wilson takes his sweet time and waits for something to evolve. That's the downfall. That's been the problem kick at all levels for the Blues as Parker intercepts.
And that's where you need the patience, Lib, because the temptation is, after you take no territory for a minute or so, to just go, all right, let's just get it down the ground a bit. And then you turn it over. Howes can bring it inside 50. This could be costly. Carlton get back in number. So just talk to me about the psychology of that, Liv, because you can go backwards and sideways and backwards and sideways, and eventually the pressure builds on you, the defender.
It does. And you're trying to get territory for your team, but you've got to have a method. If you can't get through, you've got to go long down the line to a contest, and you've got to have your contest method around that. But they went too corridor with that kick, and it just got turned over.
So is that also on the players down the ground to provide that option, that marking option?
It is. It's on your ruck, and Sam Glover here takes another intercept mark. He's been very good early, but it's the ruck that's got to shift to that position to make sure that you can then kick it to them.
Glover's had 5 intercept marks already in the opening term. He is reading the Carlton playbook. High kick from air. Young goes with the fist. Campriali the handball in mid-air. Nicely hauled in at ground level. Sets up an opportunity here. Max Marnie, what a finish! Michael Corrali was so clean to set that up. And then the young man from Mansfield. Here's another look, Lib.
Yeah, it was excellent work there by the Pies. Just excellent there from Max to hold his width with that handball. It gave him a few extra seconds to steady with that kick. But what I've loved from the Pies in recent minutes is their ability to turn the turnovers into goals. Fantastic from the Pies.
Good game, Nudge. We thought it might be. 2 teams have won 5 of their last 7. And they're playing like it.
Pendulum swung. Darcy Moore watching on. Pies the first 3. Pies the most recent 3. Carlton the opening 3. And I'm sure Max Marnie's goal would have got a cheer at the pubs in the main street of Mansfield, or maybe if they're assembled at Mansfield Football Netball Club tonight, where I'm sure there'd be 1 or 2 44-gallon drums providing some warmth. Air the clearance. Cox trying to muscle his way forward on Lewis Young. Will Hayes for the Pies trapped it. Warburton, tangle of feet, but Phillips wins. Skies the hand pass. Lewis Young didn't like the sight of black and white stripes. Charlton maybe had a little bit more time to run. It works out okay. Granger Barras, the former Hawk, who's playing his local football with North Ballarat, presents and takes the mark. Swingman option for the Blues at VFL level. And they've given it up again. You can see anguished faces amongst the Carlton leading options. Steen to air. He pops the kick. Granger Barras, it was a fist in almost frustration. Cochrane. Lewis Young. Courage went back with a flight. Missed the mark. And at quarter time, we're tied at 21.
Saturday night footy at Icon Park. 21 points apiece, and as we head to the break, here's our Brady Hotels and Apartments top 4 plays from round 14.
It's a dummy lead. Now he runs around, gives himself some arc, gets every bit of it. It's going, it's going, it's going, and it's gone.
JLV losing the football to Morris Rioli, who gave to Hott at centre-half forward. Taj chooses not to have the shot at goal, but he might end up back with it. How good was that from Morris Rioli? That's extraordinary.
Players streaming forward. Now Dixon is 2-on-1. It's Charlie Rowe, who's brought down. We had Zach Foot and Gore there. Gore's going to Dixon. You should have found me.
We'll go inside 50. Big pack of players there. Donald couldn't mark. There's the ace in it. Right out the back. Truck. Given away over the shoulder. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant.
Swans firebrand Tom Papley. Yeah. Like you've never seen him. Unfiltered. Wednesday on 7 and 7+.
Quarter time and a very entertaining Saturday night game at Icon Park. Blues got away to a fly, kicked the opening 3 goals of the game before Collingwood settled into the contest. And they kicked the last 3 goals of the game, and at quarter time, nothing separates these 2 great rivals. 3-3, 21 apiece. Matt O'Brien with his first VFL goal in game number 2. 3-3 apiece. Lewis Young with a heap of the football behind in the D50. 13 touches for him. Let's find out what was said in the Collingwood camp. Macca is with their coach, Andy Otten.
Andy, bit of a shaky start, but you guys responded really well.
Yeah, definitely. Carlton came out to play. They owned the ball. They changed lanes really well, and really we struggled to defend that. We struggled to compete ahead of the ball and lock it in our forward half. But yeah, I thought we fought back really well the last 10 minutes. Probably shows the way we want to play for the rest of the game.
Doug Kerr and Jake Watts, gee, you haven't been afraid to chuck them in the middle and chuck them on the wing there for Jake. They must be wrapped with their first quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 first gamers, Dougie's NGA coming off an E-Reco and Watsy first game as well. That's why we have this program. They've been training really well, and we have a lot of faith in them to play our system.
Just as the players are making their way back on the ground, the crowd, so we've got a bit of time. Talks about those 2 boys, and obviously with Doug, you mentioned the ACL, so he's sort of a year behind everyone else. They're getting almost a forgotten NGA product. What was your message to them, and any concerns about stepping up to senior footy for them?
No,
great.
Yeah, no concerns on our ranks. We've seen them train. Same as Watsy. He came as a train-on player, won a contract in maybe March or April. So they've been in our program for a while. Mate, Dougie's a beast. He's a contested bull, so not afraid to throw him in the midfield and show what he can do. And these guys have got strengths. That's why they're on a VFL list, and that's why they're playing tonight. And we just asked them to put their strengths on show.
Just last one. Geez, Max Marnie, little check side away from the pocket there. That was special.
It was, mate. It was a nice goal. Yeah, they'll be on the highlights reel for sure this week.
Good on you, mate. Good luck the rest of the game.
Getting set for second quarter action. We'll get Libby Birch's thoughts on the first in just a moment. It's 3-3 apiece, Saturday night football at Icon Park. Critical game for these 2 teams. Riley, beautiful tap. Dozzy the give. Durden the weave. Well done, Parker. Broke it up and allowed Di Mattia to get back and take the defensive grab. Harry holds it at centre-half back. Will spread it wide to the City side and find Marnie. Beautiful goal in the opening term from the 18-year-old. Looking at his options, you can see here they're pretty well covered. Hits the short target. It's Will Parker, last night's sub at the MCG. Getting some more miles in his legs tonight. And away he goes. Thumps it to 50. Young will come over the top, as he's done repeatedly so far in this game. Will Hayes, quick little give. Ramshaw. Lucas Campriali pops the handball back to Ramshaw. Chips down the line and finds Durden.
So Kerr, one of the 2 debutants that Andy Otten spoke about, finds Will Hayes of the Collingwood variety. And he's got someone lurking in the pocket. Mason can find space like few others in the VFL. He likes his chances to kick his second and give Collingwood their first lead of the night.
Beautiful player, Riley Mason. Just able to find the space. A beautiful pocket on the right there, opened up, held his player out. As beautiful kick to advantage as well, was able to get free.
Plenty of talent out of the Goulburn Valley Football League on show tonight. We were lauding the Marnies from Mansfield, Mason from Seymour, where he kicked 72 majors last season. Represented the league. Shades that to the inside, but still, the Pies enjoy their first lead of the night. That after trailing by 19 points at the 12-minute mark of the opening quarter. The second, with thanks to Amy Jose.
Riley Mason started at Broadford at odds kick level, then at Romsey, then at Seymour. He's got that part of Victoria well covered. Jordan Boyd with the kick in. Off to Lewis Young, who's been prominent early. Now he's in trouble and he's hurt himself. He's hurt himself. Turnover comes. And Noah Howes can take the shot at goal, but the greater concern right now is Lewis Young grabbing at his right knee.
Yeah, that right leg got stuck in the turf as he went down, and it looks like he could have a ligament injury in those scenarios. You'd never like to see it go down like that, but it did get stuck underneath him.
Macca, not far from you.
Yeah, you can see the divot in the ground from where he's that leg dug in, that right leg, and just with the physio and the doctor now, Mason Cox coming over as the Pies get the first of this second term, but concerns around Lewis Young, and we'll have an update as soon as we can.
So Noah Howes kicks his first VFL goal, the youngster from Port Wollonga and South Adelaide Lib. And the Pies out to a 7-point lead.
Yeah, well, in the first term, what they did so well, you can just see that replay there of Lewis Young doesn't look good. But on the Pies, in the last 10 minutes of the first term, they had 5+ clearances. That's where it's all starting for them, getting forward territory, allowing their backs to push up, and they've established some good forward half-time.
Noah Young, speaking of injuries, missed most of last year with stress fractures and a broken collarbone, undrafted. Now he's got his chance.
And 5 behinds in his first 4 matches as a Pie. There'd been quite the runway to that goal and the subsequent celebration. Riley pistoned the handball to Durden. He works the 1-2 with Will Hayes. And the Blues look for an immediate answer. Granger Brass tried to make the contest on Dean, but it was to no avail, and he's a little bit ginger on getting back up.
Yeah, Lewis Young will go and see the physios and the doctors. They'll do some tests on his knee, and they'll also look at the footage to see what's happened. And that'll depend whether he comes back on the ground or not.
Mulvogue showed plenty of it, but Glover has got the stickiest of hands tonight. Marnie to Kennedy, and Collingwood have found their mode. Onus on Carlton now to respond. Riley, Steen in from the side. Cox created the soft drop. Wilson sandwiched.
So Flynn Riley against Steen. Hits to the outside, but it's all Blues. Dozzy. Hayes steps through traffic with composure. Nelson back to Hayes. Turnover comes. Well played, Parker. Back in the other direction. Fiend Steed. Back to Parker. 40 out for the reward. It's across the face. Lib, let's talk about what changed for Collingwood midway through the opening term. How did they get control of the game?
Yeah, well, they didn't have any of the ball in that first 10 minutes of the first term, and it all came from their contest work, and it still is. Once they win the contest, they're getting handball chains out, they're winning it, and they're going forward and quickly, and it's putting the Blues' backs under the pump.
Lucas Camporeale kicks towards the wing. It's marked by Glover.
Sam Glover, he's having some sort of a game, absolutely enormous from him.
He goes short. Mulvogue. So a patient build-up here from the Pies. Conceded the first 3 and have kicked the last 4. Mulvogue now hoists it to a big pack. Steen will go up the front. Cox in there as well. Boyd at the back now scrapping. Here's Bennett. Steps through. Can he get all the way? He can't. Not sure if that was a disposal. Quick kick. Watts picked off by Binns, and the Blues can counter.
Skidsy's kick wide. Durden traps on the bounce, shows it to Parker, gives it off to Dozzy. Here is where it continues to fall down. Dean gets involved now and will send it back, and quickly. Kerr's having no trouble finding the ball on his first VFL outing. This will be his 8th touch. Cox dealt with off the ball. And a late 4th of July present is forthcoming for the Texan, who can try and extend the margin to 13 points. And this is getting away from Carlton subtly and quickly, Libby.
Yeah, Jace, you spoke about this earlier, but the Blues really need to let the game catch up to them off turnover. They went really quick there, but their forwards weren't set up, so you end up kicking to a Collingwood spare.
It's been a problem for the Blues at AFL and VFL level all year. It's one thing to go fast, isn't it, Lib? But the guys down the line have got to read those cues and be in the right spot.
Exactly, and if it's not on ahead of you, go laterally, because then you're still giving more time for your forwards to reset.
His 190th match as a Collingwood player tonight, 55 of them AFL level, caresses it home. So far right of screen on the Amy replay. Well, that's not even in the same postcode, let alone vicinity for Ethan Phillips to infringe. Lib, occupy Luke Powers' chair and headset for a moment. It's very hard for coaches to influence the game in this state, but it's been so obvious what Carlton need to correct. How can he do something about it, let alone his leaders on field do something?
Yeah, well, they need to win the contest as they did there, but their forwards need to make a contest ahead of the footy, because at the moment, the Pies are just dominating in the intercept marking game. So what they need to do is get the ball to ground, let their midfielders catch up to create that forward momentum again. 5
in a row for Collingwood as Marnie goes to Di Mattia. He spreads it wide, and they're finding some open options that weren't there early. Harrison Kennedy goes inside 50. Boyd at the front, does well, gets it to the line against Josh Murphy, first-year player.
So, Nige, in essence, more intensity around the footy to win it, or at least lock it in, because at the moment, it's going from inside to outside.
Carlton plus 13 in marks in the first quarter. Collingwood plus 13 in marks this quarter already.
Yeah, it's flipped on its head, hasn't it, really? And the Blues need to adjust here. Cox, that was clever to the back. You can see what he was trying to do. Hayes can't quite, but managed to find Vickery, who then goes to Camporeale. Can White keep it alive? Taps it on cleverly. Knew where his teammate was. Riley Monahan will strive to try and get there. Steen gets there first. Smith gets rid of the tackler. Pops a handball over the head of Lucas Campriali. He went inside looking for his brother. Trying to break it up was Corrali. Lucas went back and found it. Now to Ramshaw. His handball forward. Campriali almost sold into trouble. Hayes, Riley, the big man. Always dangerous handballing to a ruckman under pressure. He didn't like the treatment from Brady Gray. In the end, the umpire says, settle it down. It's Brady's free kick.
One too many handballs there by the Blues. And their forwards just need to be in line with that player so they can get that kick towards and get that forward half territory.
Gray can trot around Riley. Cox. Phillips looked for the body. Howes dabbed it to Di Mattia. Backing back. Vickery. What can they produce on transition on this occasion? Bin slows things down and is trying to look for that short 45. He gets it in the form of Wilson, who needs the same thing in the corridor. It works, sort of. Binns had to change feet to find Vickery away from the pursuing Marnie. Up went Young early. Dean, bit of indecision between he and Glover. Can the Blues create something off the back of that? It's still not out for the Pies. Dean, Cochrane versus Binns, who follows up his original involvement in this play. And Collingwood with another intercept. Dean marks, White incensed.
So they've got Harry Lemmy and Denver Granger Barras generally inside 50. There's a couple of marking targets, Lib, but too often the ball's being kicked to Smalls.
You're absolutely right there, Jace. The kicks to advantage haven't been there at all tonight.
Smith slaps it into space. Well done, Ramshaw. Feeds it back outside to Vickery. A 2-on-2 now. They can run and jump at this. Young tries to come over the top. Did enough to get it to ground. Can White take on... Dean took on the first tackler.
That's got to be ball.
And he gets away with it. The fend is the prior opportunity, Liv.
The fend is the prior, and he definitely fended. So they're very lucky there not to get a Charlie Dean, not to get a free kick.
Yeah. Nice tap from Riley. Is there a hold? There is. It's going Collingwood's way to Steen. So the Pies dodge a bullet there.
This is where the Blues need a number off.
Dean wraps around and then just launches it out towards the line. Coming over the top was Vickery. Reading it nicely was Di Mattia. He hits the corridor kick, which is aggressive. Well played there by Murphy to create the contest. Forced it to ground. Gave them an opportunity. Will Hayes in there for the Pies. Ball spills out. Murphy involved again. Gets it to Harry Marnie. Kick inside 50. Mason Cox comes out, but beating him there was Lucas Campriali. Back from whence it came. Finds Binns. Again, Binns will have a look. Is there anything on? Will he take a short? Can he find one? He can. Good patience. Finds Will Hayes on the wing.
Had a run with Warrigal and his former teammate, ex-Blue Jed Lamb last week. Tumbling ball. Another cough up. It's catching.
He's had two kicks like that tonight. Will Hayes just hasn't been to the advantage of the forwards. And they're shallow kicks inside 50 as well.
They get an intercept of their own here, the Blues. Lucas Campriali shows it to Di Mattia. It's a turnover fest. 17-9 amongst these teams. Corrali. Back to Gray. Look at the numbers inboard. Air. Chief amongst them has O'Brien, and he can pick a few options. Lemmy almost into the protected area as Max Marnie marks. A highlight goal in the opening quarter. Slow play now. Gray presents, and there's plenty of numbers to his left. Instead, he goes straight. Collingwood showing Carlton how to do it. Hayes the mark. There's still plenty happening off the ball. A Carlton player down. It looks to be Boyd or Lewis Young. It's Boyd with Lewis Young off the ground.
Yeah,
so
it's Boyd.
Free kick reversed.
He's the antagonist, as always.
Billy Wilson gets it, and that's a huge let-off, given how Collingwood marched that ball from back to forward.
Blues need a goal here. Everything's starting to fall apart for them right now. Corrali comes through. Will receive it back. Can snap from the pocket. Michael Corrali heads goalward and misses. Carlton just hanging on at the moment. The game has really regressed for them, Lib. They had it on their terms early. Collingwood adjusted. and the Blues haven't been able to adapt.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of conversation about Carlton's kicking, even inside 50, but ball use around the ground. And at the moment, they're going at 67% in this second term versus Collingwood's 85.
Granger Barrass will go towards Lemmy. And a much better option when he can kick to a marking target, because even if he doesn't mark it, he creates a contest, and now you've got a stoppage.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want your tall forwards to do. Bring it to ground, create a stoppage, or get it to your smalls that can go to work and get more territory for you.
Now let's them set up behind the ball as well in case it does come out quickly. Hayes forces the turnover. Binns the beneficiary. Can they get one inside 50? Young under pressure. Needs some support. In there is White waiting for it to spill. It won't.
In saying that, though, I feel like the Blues forwards need to challenge the Pies backs as well. They need to want the footy. We need to see more movement in there to make sure that the Pies defence doesn't have the ability to number off in dangerous space.
Granger Barrass against Steen. Pinched by Will Hayes, who goals. The Blues needed that one. Well, Libby can trace all of this back on the Amy replay to Harry Lemmy just getting one hand on that marking contest.
Absolutely, it makes such a difference when the kick's to advantage of your forward or even just to your forward, and they can create a contest, and then the whole ground can reset. The backs can push up, the midfield can push up, and then the forwards can reset, and that's where that goal came from.
One thing we know the Blues of 2025 can do is score from stoppage. We see it there through Hayes, who has 73 goals in 119 glittering VFL games. Lemmy the clearance to the front Glover, and that time Granger Barrass just needed to lock the arm and get a fist on it. Yet another intercept mark for the Pies.
I'd be thinking about putting someone on Sam Glover, a forward that can create a defensive mindset against him. That's his 7th intercept mark. It's just been brilliant from him, and he's been a game changer.
World record pace. Warburton having the best of his VFL games to date. Ben Camporeale, Hogg, Boyd. Read best by Air, and it's going to come back once again. Corrali, Air on his left. Howe's looking for the body. Phillips with an intercept.
Speaking of intercept defenders, Lewis Young. Macca, what's the latest?
It looks like he's done for the night. The good news is, though, it is a right ankle that they were looking at, not a knee. So you feared the worst when he went down like he did, but it looks like done for the night with a right ankle injury.
Thanks, Macca. He certainly tweaked both of them. Enormous talk. So Durden in that time managed to create the contest. Binns to Nelson. Mulvo just straight lines it to the boundary line. And the Blues in the last 5 minutes, Lib, starting to get back on level terms.
They are, and it comes from their contest work and intensity. And when they're able to lock the Pies in and keep them tight and stop them from getting to the outside of the contest, they look far better, the Blues. And that comes from that layering we spoke about pre-game.
Lemmy against Cox with strength. Doug Kerr has been impressive. Monahan steps a man. Rob Monahan can wind up from 65. Has got a powerful kick, but Granger Barrass was engaged illegally. He'll get the free kick. So Smith engaged Granger Barrass to allow Cox to take the mark, but the umpire spotted it.
Oh, it's the hardest thing to do in footy as a defender, to make it look like you want to mark the ball and you're not blocking. In that occasion, you couldn't fool the umpire, but the idea is right. Letting Cox mark that footy, it's just got to be better disguised.
So this to bring it back to just a 2-point game. Granger Barrass for his first goal as a Blue. Steps around and nails it. Good fight back from Carlton.
Well, you can see this free kick here, but what's super important is you always watch the footy. You never turn your back to the footy, and that's what the umpire is looking for, thanks to the Amy replay. But if you have eyes to the footy and you're going up for the mark, that is all okay for a block. So the key is in how you disguise this to the umpire.
So as soon as the umpire saw the number 20 pointing in the wrong direction, free kick.
So the Blues with back-to-back majors through Hayes and Granger Barrass return the contest to a single-goal game. Gray just bustles free. Steen looking more for the Phillips body than the ball. Advantage will go the way of the Blues for whatever the free kick was. Charlton to Warburton and back again to Harry. And that's better use to find White, who had two pies confused. Cuts the kick, trying to protect the drop zone was Young. Dean does just enough, and Denver Granger Barras there in screen. Well, apart from George Stevens getting an AFL debut today, Denver Granger Barras probably the happiest man, because George Stevens getting selected saw Luke Power release Archie Stevens from Carlton's VFL team tonight to go and watch his brother debut, and DGB gets the call up at VFL level.
Warburton's kick, a wobbler, and now a chance for the Pies to counter-punch. Doug Kerr involved again, gives it off to Marnie. He feeds it forward. Now the finish. Bennett's from 40, goes bang.
Well, it's the Pies that have been so prolific at scoring off turno, much like their AFL side, thanks to the Amy replay. They're so quick to transition, they're running forward, they're running in waves, and that's actually their 6th goal off turnover. They haven't scored from any other sources in this game tonight.
So a couple of ex-Hawks getting involved, Granger Barras and then Bennett, who spent time on Hawthorn's rookie list as a Category B with a major. Cox, that's a long way down, terrific scoop. Dribbling ball wide, Wilson there first. Phillips, speaking of ex-Hawks. Mason thought about spiking it Rob Gronkowski style. Instead, gives it back to Flynn Riley.
A little bit of red, white and blue mist descending that he managed to pull up.
So Riley, left to his own devices. That's a great kick. Had White or Young. It's WWs. And Will White is thinking about running out on the angle. Still.
It's a good kick, but it's from a very tight angle, and the Pies, if you're willing to give up anything, you're willing to give up a boundary mark.
Yeah, low percentage look for Will White, but he should be up to it. 3-1 in 3 games this season. 8 feet to look at for White. Improves that angle, but was always to the right in the search for distance. 3-2 for the season for Will White. Of course, kicked 3 goals against the Roos in the AFL all the way back on Good Friday.
So the margin sits at 7 as we hit the 24-minute mark of the second term. Great to have you with us on prime time Saturday night footy. Glover's bounce didn't come back to him, but Dozzy did. Cochrane receives the handball, uses the outside runner Mulvogue. He pops it over the top. Awkward one for Marnie, leaves it behind, and the Blues can break it up through Ollie Warburton, the 4th generation Blue. Great-grandfather Keith was the acrobat. Played 70-odd games for the Blues back in the day. Very popular player. Then Peter. Brett played some reserves footy. And now Ollie, the 4th generation Warburton, to pull on a Carlton jumper. Speaking of family legacies, there's Darcy Hogg, whose dad Matthew played in the 95 flag for the Blues. Kerr taken down by Camporeale. Vickery tried to power through. Dozzy tried to spin through. Di Mattia, Gray, it came back to Dozzy. Is he doing enough? No, sir. Umpire said he pulled it in. It'll be Brady Gray's ball, and he's away and running. Shades of Russell Olsen in that jumper. Collingwood fans will remember, if you're old enough. So let's say Collingwood fans over the age of 60, let's say.
Ethan Phillips has done well tonight, just edging his opponent under the footy, taking some nice intercept marks down there.
Maybe Lee Carlson as well. Anyway, I digress. I have no life.
Toss in a Fonskine while you're at it, Chase.
Will Parker has it. 65 from home. He goes short to Ryanair. Hey, we've got to remember our history. It's very important. Ryanair from 65 out. High and long, big pack of players. Steen tries to get to the front. Phillips at the back, swooping on it was Charlson. Well done, Marnie. Lost the handle, but it spilt to Will Hayes. He feeds it back outside 50. Mulvogue, Cochrane, touch kick. Warburton got involved. Front and centre, spoiled off the boot of Marnie. Riley came crashing through. Mason Cox against Will Hayes. Well done, Charlton was clean. Off to Hogg. And now Lucas Campriali.
Who's got the responsibility of the kick. The ground ball was so important from Nelson. Opens things up. Away goes Flynn Young, but he's held to account by Eyre. Ryan Eyre, whose brother Josh, at 43 games at VFL level, has dropped back this season after being quite close to finding himself on an AFL list. He's playing with his brother at Castlemaine in Bendigo Football League, Di Mattia. Flynn Young spun and then some.
Really smart there by Flynn Young. Didn't have anyone to go to, but held the ball in to create a stoppage for his teammates.
Pies with 3-3 in both quarters. The Blues 2-2 in this term so far. Riley, Glover, might as well take the ball home with him. 8 intercept marks for the night. Parker, Mulvogue. Parker had options by hand, but better ones longer by foot. Harry Marnie drops back a gear. You can see the US flag draping the fence. Steen got to the front on Phillips. Warburton kicks that out on the full, but Ollie Warburton's had a really good game so far. That's his 10th touch. Had just the 4 last Saturday night against Port Melbourne.
Yeah, feels like he's starting to settle in, get a bit of confidence, pick up the speed and intensity. 19-year-old from Shepparton. Another kick inside 50 for the Pies. They'd love one just before half-time. Riley looked dangerous, handball. Wilson has to kick under pressure. It came to Mason Cox, but that one across the face, and the Blues get away with it.
Yeah, very dangerous handball in D50, particularly if you don't have anyone ready for the handball like Billy Wilson was. Better to get that on the boot and get a rebound 50 for your team.
Jackson Binns. Blues need to be precise in the back half here. Don't want to be giving up a late goal. They've fought hard to get themselves back in the contest. Dean didn't quite complete it. Eyre was there to try and pump it back to 50. Binns looked around, saw what was there. Took it to the line with some constructive feedback from Riley Mason in his ear. Jackson Binns, 5 AFL games this season, 7 VFL. This is 8th tonight.
Very even in the contest, as you can see there. But it's the clearance battle. The Blues are winning the clearances by 5 this quarter, but haven't been able to do anything with it.
Flynn Riley's having a decent night. Once again, he's been impressive the last couple of weeks. Lucas Campriali to the wing. A 2-on-2. Granger Barras couldn't take the grab. And the Pies can come back through Glover.
Who's looked so accomplished tonight. Joseph Wren Trophy winner last year is their best and fairest. He finds Eyre. Gets to the hands of Max Marnie. Gray presents. Mulvogue against the boundary line. And they just keep moving to open up pockets of space. Di Mattia found one there. Steen over the top, Mason. Right on the siren. Ethan Phillips will argue his case to no avail. And Riley Mason, who kicked a goal at the 25-minute mark of the opening quarter as Collingwood made their run, kicking 5 goals in a row, 3 before quarter time, and then the first 2 of this term. And this really swings the advantage back the way of the Pies if he can salute.
It's exactly what happened last night in the AFL game.
2 goals in a row to the Blues. Josh Bennett's with 1 at the 21-minute mark of the quarter. And the Pies can't quite take full advantage of their dominance for probably 2/3 of that quarter. They had 18 inside 50s to 12. Possession identical. 92 touches each for the respective teams. But we mentioned it early in the quarter. The golf was in the marks. Therein lies the control. Collingwood 40 marks to Carlton's 20. 3-4 to 2-2 in the term. And after we were tied at 21 apiece at quarter time, the margin is 8 at half time. Sam Glover had 8 possessions and 3 intercept marks in that quarter after having 6 and 5 intercept marks in the first. And he is with Andrew McCormack.
One of those nights where you just think everything's going right, mate. Everything going your way. You are marking. You know, you're on record pace.
No, we're setting up really well behind the ball. They play quite small, so we're just trying to play to our strengths and win the ball back so we can go forward.
Have you noticed that as we walk off? Have you noticed they've been trying to sort of pick their way through a lot of uncontested marks, and how have you guys sort of seen that, and you're happy for that to continue the way it's going?
Yeah, I think sometimes at the start of the game you can get a little bit shocked, and they obviously wanted to use up possession. But yeah, we just try and take the game away from them, keep the pressure on, and once we win the ball back, we're getting inside 50 easily.
Thanks, Sammy. Go Bolt. Cheers.
Played one game for the Blues back in 2017, but he's never had so many Carlton players kick it to him in one night. Sam Glover owning the football. It's half-time. 6-7-43, Carlton 5-5-35. Pies by 8 points at the half.
How sweet it is!
The AFL final set Australia on fire.
Crowd says it all!
You could help vote it Australia's best sports coverage. Vote at tvweeklogies.com.au now.
Welcome to the halftime show. It is Collingwood by 8 points, 6-7-43, Carlton 5-5-35. Scores will level at quarter time. The Pies kicked 3-4 to 2-2 in that second term. Ryan Ayres had 15 possessions, Sam Glover 14 and 8 intercept marks. Lib, we take a look at the overall numbers. Carlton have had 31 more disposals, 24 of those being handballs, but Collingwood 7 more inside 50s.
The Pies have just been so efficient going inside 50. They've been absolutely brilliant at moving the ball from their D50 to their forward 50. And the Blues, at times, they've just butchered the footy in transition, particularly in their forward half. And we've seen that a little bit in their AFL side. But we loved what we saw in the first term from them, but they waved away from that in the second term. And you can see here, the Pies, all their entries are very deep inside 50, which makes it really hard for the Blues to defend, and they're getting so many options, particularly on that left-hand side. And then if we look at the Blues, you can see shots on goal. Again, just so central, and that's to do with their ball movement, cutting through the corridor, getting hands received, good forward momentum on the footy.
And then from a Carlton perspective, Lib, we see that the options are a fair bit more shallow and nowhere near as many in the corridor.
But also, Jace, it's so random. There's no real predictability in the ball movement there. You can see that it's so shallow around the arc there, and it makes it so easy for a player like Sam Glover to take good intercept marks or the defence to set from the Pies.
And as a result, you can see when Carlton go nice and central and take their shots from in front, not surprisingly, they have a much better accuracy rate. They were on early though, Nudge. Their ball movement caught Collingwood napping and they kicked the first 3.
Yeah, so the goals, 0 to 15, 0 to 30. As much as we keep inside 50 stats, and they're important and relevant in reflecting territory, it's this part of the ground where you really need the ball. And as mentioned, Carlton had that early on, but something about Collingwood, one, the attitude where they can weather a storm from an opposition, and then typically there's a response that's got GST added to it, and they kick those 5 goals either side of quarter time. They're getting them through multiple sources, but it's really the sum of all fears for Carlton coming into the game tonight. On paper, it was Collingwood's interceptors, Glover, Dean, and to a lesser extent Smith. Yes, it's not Jeremy Howe and Darcy Moore, but it's the principles, it's the system in which they play and are set up, and right now it's taking Carlton to task.
20 intercept marks in the first half. Carlton have taken 11, but 20 to Collingwood, which is an enormous number, Lib. And Sam Glover is responsible for 8 of those himself. 14 possessions, 8 intercept marks.
Oh, he's been absolutely magnificent from the get-go, and particularly when the Pies were under the pump early on in the game, I felt like he was a real steady figure as captain, but he's just put himself in a really good position where the ball's going to be kicked, and then his hands above his head have been magnificent.
You're pretty handy at playing this sort of role in AFLW. What's the counter-attack from a defensive point of view? Does the forward for Carlton go and play back shoulder? Because he's clearly not paying any attention whatsoever to his opponent. He's just worried about the ball in front of him.
Yeah, play back shoulder or try and get dangerous yourself. Try and get used. Try and bring Sam outside of his comfort zone, because Sam's just able to patrol. There's no one dangerous that's coming at the footy. So really make sure that he can defend, because as soon as that lead-up happens, Sam has to defend.
It's the Pies by 8 points at the half. And as we head to the break, it's Amy Clanger's time. And you know the old saying, all's well that ends well. Need one here. If they can get one, they'd probably feel a little closer than they deserve to be. Not with that. Swings dramatically to the left and is marked by Pitton in the pocket. He gives it off to an unsuspecting teammate. It's smothered off his boot, and somehow it ends up with Ben Camporelli. Not the way they drew it up. What is going on?
This VFL telecast is brought to you by Amy. When clangers happen, lucky you're with Amy.
Welcome back to the halftime show. It's Collingwood by 8 points at the major break on Saturday Night Football. And news this week, Nigel Carmody, that after 17 years, the St Kilda Sandringham alignment will go their separate ways next year, leaving Hawthorn and Melbourne as the only AFL clubs now without a VFL affiliate.
We spoke about this in the early rounds of the season when it was more than smoke signals coming out of both camps. And as expected, the good thing is this decision being made in July gives both clubs a lot of time. I was part of a Collingwood VFL team that tried to set itself up in 2008, and even with all the resources at the disposal of the Pies, it's a really, really big task to go and start a new footy team. So the job's ahead of both St Kilda and Sandringham, but Sandy, of course, have a little bit of the infrastructure in place already. It'll be a highly sought-after job, the Zebras coaching role.
So that makes 22 teams if everything else stays the same next year. So that'll eliminate the bye and give it an even number. Let's head around the grounds. Speaking of 21 teams that are in action, round 15 of VFL action kicked off yesterday afternoon. Footscray won 6 on the bounce now. 16-point winners over North Melbourne. Anthony Scott, 37 and a goal. A vital 5-goal win for Southport over their Queensland rival Brisbane. Jacob Dawson, 36 touches. James Tunstall, 34 and 2 goals. GWS defended their top 4 spot, made Werriby's premiership defence that little bit tougher. Jacob Ware, 27 and 2. Gold Coast made it back-to-back wins with a 14-point win over the undermanned Bombers. Jai Farah, 4 goals. Elijah Sardis, 34 touches. Willie have won 8 in a row. 17-point win over the Borough at North Port. Brodie McLaughlin kicked another 5 goals. He leads the Frosty race on 47. And the big story, the Bull Ants came from 25 points down at halftime to pick up their first win since round 10 of last year. They snapped a 21-game losing streak with a thrilling 7-point win over Sydney. Ben Patton had 33 and 1. Jean-Luc Valasaris, 24 and 3. What a story for the Bull Ants.
Yeah, so happy for Roel Melch and guys like Jean-Luc Valasaris, who you mentioned, have been so loyal to this football club. And this is a strange game. Sydney kicked their 8th and final goal of the game at the 19.5-minute mark of the second quarter. The Ants kicked the last 8 of the match. This game, of course, was moved from Tramway Oval adjacent to the SCG out to Blacktown, and can't imagine what it would have been like on the flight home tonight for the Bull Ants.
Here they are singing the song. Those of them who know the words. It's been a while. Round 10 of last year. Congratulations to the Bullies. And Lib, when they're so few and far between in your clubs going through such tough times, they're evenings that you'll never forget.
Oh, they mean so much, particularly for the younger players and all the staff and all the families involved, particularly when you go through tough times like that. This one could start something special for the Bull Ants.
So, Nudger, coming up straight after the game tonight, AFL Saturday Rewind, what's making headlines?
Yeah, 2 AFL matches tonight and another of our Marvel Saturday double headers, and we know that we've had the top 9 playing the bottom 9 on the ladder in this round, and so far it's really gone to script with the teams in the finals race winning by an average margin of about 50 points. Geelong were a little bit north of that against Richmond this afternoon. Jeremy Cameron kicking his 700th AFL goal, and we'll bring you, of course, all the results of both the Lions, Port and Saints Hawks match that are currently taking place.
Sunday footy feast from midday tomorrow leading into Adelaide and Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval. That game will be followed by the wash-up. Another big Sunday arvo of footy on 7. We're getting set for second half action. It's the Pies by 8 points. Third quarter action is next.
The must-watch show with the biggest opinions in footy.
They do not know how good they've got it. The agenda setters. Miss it, and you're out of the loop.
The best names in the industry, setting the agenda.
Join us on 7plus.
The Agenda Setters, Monday and Tuesday on 7mate and 7plus.
All is in readiness for the second half of Saturday night footy. The Blues looking to defend their spot inside the top 10. The Pies looking to make a move on the top 4. Both these teams have won 5 of their last 7 games. As we get set for third quarter action, it is Collingwood by 8 points. After they were all locked up at the first change. Our third quarter action, thanks to Brady Hotels and Apartments, is Nigel Carmody.
It's 3-3 apiece at quarter time. Cox favoured by the bounce as he gets over Riley. Tapped it free for Ramshaw. who eventually had his number via Gray. Watts. Boy from Shepparton, shown a bit on debut, including that. Wanted O'Brien, just couldn't find him. Ben Camporale fighting for it and wanting a free kick himself.
Great defensive spoil there. Good come forward and number off by Ben Camporale there. Super important.
Riley, a good match-up for Cox, but Cox got it. Di Mattia, without even running, got the handball. Here's Hayes. He's got some wheels. He's the epitome of the modern small forward, Will Hayes. We see the goal on the Brady Hotels and Apartments replay lip. He's had 5 touches tonight, averages 10 a game in the VFL this season, but it's more what he does off ball with his running and then being so opportunistic that makes him an attractive player.
Yeah, it's brilliant ball use there and great speed to get that on the run.
Will Hayes of the Carlton variety, beaten for it on that occasion. Ben Camporale gets rid of Matt O'Brien, then finds the football himself. Handball missed Riley. Away comes Ramshaw. Bounces it to half forward. Granger Barras comes out to meet it. Gathers and gives. Wilson drives inside 50 to a one-on-one. Gets over the back. Warburton couldn't take it cleanly. Young's managed to spin through. Lemmy kept it moving. Glover gets there first. Lemmy runs him down, umpire said. Tackle went high. Free kick.
Unlucky there, but good pressure from the Carlton forwards. That's exactly what they need to do to stop this chip mark game from the Pies.
Dean to Di Mattia, and straight up the middle they exit. Will Parker ran into Ramshaw, so had to pop a handball, then goes to get it back. Riley makes sure he doesn't break that tackle though. Stands him up in the middle of Icon Park.
It's a great tackle by the big ruck there. It's important because that transition was going so quickly down the ground.
Seen a couple of ruckmen catch the eye in the last few weeks. Lockie Monteith for the Bombers and Flynn Riley's looked good tonight for the Blues once again. Air thinking about the line, trying to fool all and sundry. And it's nearly mission accomplished. Didn't give away the free kick at least.
You can see the difference that maturity makes in rucks and why they take a bit longer though, can't you? Because Mason Cox, just with all those extra summers in the gym, able to just move Flynn Riley out of the way.
21-year-old Flynn Riley, who spent last year on the Blues VFL list, but has only this year got his chance. Binns got it out to Ramshaw. Will Hayes for the Blues. Immediately under pressure was Monahan. Hayes goes hunting again. Riley got down to it, like his ground ball work. Binns. Fist from Air on Young as Lemmy pushed in the back. We did get a chance to mention it before, but Jack Watts, who's making his Collingwood VFL debut tonight, he's another great story of persistence. He was an Essendon VFL train-on 12 months ago, so did the pre-season, didn't make the actual list, was a train-on, kept coming down from Shepparton, and tonight finally gets his opportunity at VFL level.
And that's after 18 months of glandular fever and hamstring problems. So the 2 years before that, he's basically missed footy as well. So good on him for getting that debut tonight. Kick towards 50. Will Parker back the other way. Will get over the back. Monahan needs to release it reasonably quickly. Just gets away with it. Camporale almost sold Ramshaw into trouble. Can Lemmy start to have an impact on the game? Can't take the grab, but does get the follow-up. From 50, sells the dummy, spreads it, and well done. Speaking on cue, here is Jake Watts, the man we've spoken of from the Shep Bears. On debut tonight to Parker. Straight up the middle. Phillips will be worked underneath it by Steen. It'll get over the back. Phillips and Monahan back to cover his key defender. Slides in, does a good job, holds it up. Wins the free kick.
Ramshaw's been super important. 5 disposals in the middle of the ground. He's been great in the contest, but I love Lemming in that previous play, just hitting up at the footy. That's what he needs to do more of.
So the Blues ball movement looked as good as it has all night in the first 15 minutes, but since those first 15 minutes, Lib, it's really stagnated.
Into attack, Howes starting to get a vibe for it in the black and white stripes. Kicked a long-awaited first VFL goal earlier on. He gets a look at a second here, and this would be 3 in a row to the Pies. Bennett's the 21-minute mark of the second, knowing Mason had that shot that was more than gettable after the halftime siren. Will Hayes early to start the quarter. Howes with 3.5 metres of goal face. He needed barely any of it. Lib, it's got a similar flavour to what we saw early in the second on the Brady Hotels and Apartments replay. 2 goals to nothing, 4 inside 50s to 2. Collingwood with 8 marks, Carlton without one as yet.
Well, it's their kicking efficiency as well, Nudge. 75% going Collingwood's way. Carlton 25%. That's where Collingwood are losing on the turnover battle.
Campriali paddles it forward. Hogg, Riley. Getting back is Corrali, who's had some important moments tonight. O'Brien kicked his first goal in VFL footy this evening. Well done, Flynn Young. And that's a beautiful delivery to Lemmy, the sort of class they've been lacking.
I love that from Lemmy. He started this third term with real aggression. He's being proactive in front of his defender, and everyone is kicking it to his advantage for the first time tonight.
Well, he gets more targets now without Liam McMahon, who's gone to Essendon, and without the injured Hudson O'Keefe. For most of the season, there was 1 of 3 tall forwards inside 50. They've got Granger Barras down there tonight, but this is Harry Lemmy's forward line to take control of. He can go back, kick his second here, and keep the Blues in touch. He's kicked 27-11 for the season. 40 out. Carlton need this one. And Harry Lemmy delivers it. So 46th VFL game tonight, Lib, as we check the Brady Hotels and Apartments replay. Still 21 years of age. He's had an old-fashioned apprenticeship. He's done 3 years in the system now, which is rare.
It is rare, but now that he's got some games under his belt, he really needs to demand that forward 50 like he is in this third term. Big forward, main beacon for Bullaboos. 2
young South Australian forwards in Howes and Lemmy with 2 each for their respective teams. Ramshaw has Wilson flying through. Billy Wilson after an AFL debut last week with 12 possessions tonight. An easy out coming up here for the Pies. Carlton's defence have wound back and still can't impact Corrali. Handful of VFL games with the Bombers.
It's the Blues forwards that need to fill this corridor here, and they're not doing that at all.
Air to O'Brien. Look at the understanding even amongst the young Collingwood VFL listed Pies. Mulvogue, Murphy.
So where's the breakdown there, Lib?
Murphy goes. Up goes Steen, almost at ground level. Kennedy got an ankle on it. That could have been enough for Steen. He is trying to put in his entry for the Amy Clangers. Hayes completes the dose.
That's that segment sorted for next week.
Put it in the book, producer Rachel Murrell. Your week schedule has opened up as a result of what we've just seen.
So, Lib, back to the point. It was such an easy transition for the Pies. Where did that break down?
It is, and the Pies go directly through the corridor, and it's the forwards' job to fill the corridor so that the rest of the team can shift defensively. The forwards are just still being stuck behind the footy off turnover. They're not transitioning or running hard to fill that corridor.
So just ball watching as the ball comes in and not sprinting to where they need to be.
In footy, it's the forwards' job to defend first. Otherwise, you're putting the pressure on your midfield and your defence.
So Vickery's kicks a floater. Mason Cox flew early. Spills off Riley. Mulvogue. Sweeping handball over the top. Coming to meet it was Vickery. He's taken down by Josh Bennett's. Campriali. High kick back towards the wing. Cochrane in best position and marks. Held his position nicely at the back. Off to Charlie Dean. Dean goes short. O'Brien, the run from behind Di Mattia. Can he hit a target in the pocket? He can. Laces it out to Oscar Steen.
Di Mattia has been brilliant at that tonight. He's just put it to the forwards' advantage off that half-back line. He's probably been one of the best on ground in terms of that aspect, entering inside 50. Another great execution there.
And another youngster doing his apprenticeship. This is his 3rd year in the system as well. 31st game tonight. Had a toe issue last year. And here's what he's got to aim at, Oscar Steen. 6'5" from his 12 games this year. 48 metres out, tight angle. Hangs it way right.
Quick out for the Blues, and there might be more added to it. Steen gives away the 50. And Binns will dash off. Umpire Lachlan Coyne was on the scene to make a quick call. This opens things up, but Binns misses the target. Guess who? Glover, but he misses Di Mattia. But there's numbers for the Pies. Inside and out. Di Mattia just needed to slap it free. Might have been a bit too cute in the circumstances. Hogg got it through Lemmy and Cox. Nelson wasn't getting through Glover. Got it out to Warburton. Quick hands Lemmy. Losing his footing Corrali. What a pick up from Parker to Marnie, who can skip through Lemmy. Head back inboard to Corrali, who stayed attached to the play. Paddled down by Phillips. That was clever. Ball smothered by Marnie off the boot of Vickery, and the margin sits at 14 as we wind our way towards the halfway mark of the third.
It's that poise and composure off that 50-metre penalty. They're just not executing that kick, and it breaks down the whole offensive chain because the Pies are sitting in front ready for it.
It's the difference between playing VFL and AFL too, isn't it? Hitting those sort of targets when you're open. Dozzy. Campriali, can he hit a target? He's got a man wide open. It's Will White. He pops it over the top. And having to stand and wait is Ollie Warburton. Could be a great moment for him, but he selflessly gives it off as well. And Luke Nelson can go back and kick a goal that just keeps Carlton hanging around.
Well, it's been Campriali who's had 6 disposals in this third term, and also Ramshaw that have just helped out in that midfield battle, winning the contested ball and getting it forward. But it was Campriali's kick inside 50 that was the best that the Blues have had all night.
Luke Nelson playing game 75 tonight. He's a veteran in VFL terms. Started at Richmond VFL in 2019, then went to Coburg, played 46 games there, joined the Blues last year. This for goal number 50 in his VFL career. He steps up and nails it, and the Blues stick around.
Well, the Blues, they're in this match thanks to Brady Hotels and Apartments, and it's the kicking inside 50, but a deep entry at that that's really important, and the unselfish play of getting a quality shot. It makes all the difference, Jace.
Luke Nelson, of course, playing his community football with
Collegians in the Ammos.
Thank you. We finally get a recall bounce.
You're going to say finally got an Ammos reference in. It's taken 2.5 quarters.
That too.
We probably over-index tonight on country footballers. Creates the challenge for you as head honcho at the VAFA. Turnover. Monahan receives from Lucas Campriali, goes with the outside of the right and gives it straight back. Mulvogue.
Head honcho's a bit much, but I'll take it.
It is on my org chart. Good evening to Jason Reddick if he's tuning in as
former Williamstown president.
Phillips bringing it to ground was Howes, who then tackles Will Hayes. He can't muscle it out.
Oh, that's nearly holding the ball there from Will Hayes. Had the ball up above the head, and that's usually the prior opportunity.
Doug Kerr was on the scene. He's had 10 tonight. Will Hayes, the Carlton version, 18. Mason, Kennedy, fumbly, can recover. Can't get the goal, and Harrison Kennedy's had a night of what-ifs around goal. A couple of behinds and 10 touches for the former Bull Ant.
So let's see what the Blues can do here. Building from the back. Boyd, the first kick is to Binns. He's got Hayes down the line, hemmed in by Cochrane. Looking for a switch. Pies look to have that covered as well. So Binns says, someone come at me, give me something here. Well done by Jake Watts to press, and so they have to concede back to the goal line. But this is where patience we spoke about before, Lib, comes in.
It does, but I don't love the fact that they don't have any options to go long down the line with. You're not always going to have a short kick. You always need to have a bailout option long down the line, and clearly the ruck and the forwards aren't communicating to get there.
Big hole for Monahan to kick into if he's prepared to bite off the aggressive one.
Here's the kick. That's what we want.
Lemmy gets engaged. It bounces to the front for Watts. He tries to spin away from Binns towards the line, and at least they get a stoppage, the Blues.
Exactly, and the reason why that's such a better kick instead of going laterally is you're getting territory, and if you get another contest there, you're halfway up the ground.
Nigel Carmody, Kate Massey coming up straight after this one with Libby Birch for AFL Saturday Rewind. All the highlights, news and analysis from today's AFL action. Stick around for that straight after this game. It's a 9-pointer at the moment. 17 minutes gone in the third term. Monahan comes in with the tackle. And wraps up Harrison Kennedy. Can the Blues find another one, or can Collingwood kick clear again? Dozzy to half forward. Granger Barras in good position. Tries to get away from Smith and then just tries to paddle to Flynn Young. Well done, Dean. Popped it over the top. Mulvogue being pursued here by Nelson. Whistle's gone. Collingwood ball.
Go the way of Brady Gray for something indiscriminate off the ball. Gray, one-handed attempt from Kerr. Binns, overlap now through White. Stretching back towards goal, Lemmy. Is the tick lead coming from Warburton. Deeper afield again. Nelson. Carlton's connection again exposed.
Yeah, I'm not sure I loved the little twist there to give him a little bit more time and space to get deeper inside 50, but he had a forward out. Kick it to your forward.
Play still alive though, but Parker had no pressure on him. Mulvogue steps. Flynn Young finds O'Brien, a goal kicker tonight. Parker. And the bounce for Howes, who had handball options and now gets to one. Marnie wants the run received via Kerr. Inside 50 though is Murphy, who's got a leg on him and some speed. Taps it home.
So a 2-goal swing on the back of Will White, not connecting with the forward at one end, and then Collingwood make him pay, Lib.
Yeah, they will crucify you on turnover, and that's why the Blues entering inside 50 is so important, because you can just see the speed of ball movement in which they transition the footy, the Pies, and they've been brilliant at that all night.
Lovely finish from Josh Murphy, originally from How Long on the Murray between Corriba and Albury. He's been at North Albury.
You can see how tight that angle is.
Yeah,
too,
he
Jace.
nailed it, didn't he? Beautiful. Number one at the Combine for a vertical leap. He was number one in the Coates League last year, kicked 32 goals from 11 games. Talented youngster, and he showed it there. So the Blues have to do it all again. They're back out to a 14-point deficit as we hit time on in the third term. A real gut punch there from the Magpies. After Carlton had worked hard to try and almost get it within a kick. Well done by Darcy Hogg. Quick kick inside 50, past Warburton. He gets away from Glover. Ollie Warburton looks to set it up. White fly, it'll get over the back. Options, Granger Barras goes himself. And the Blues get it back in a hurry.
Well, Jace, Nige, thanks to Brady and Hotels and Apartments replay, the Blues, they've changed their contest method out of clearance. They're starting to use surge footy, a little bit of chaos. And it's a look that the Pies haven't seen before in this game. A quick kick out of stoppage. The forwards playing in front. It's working for them.
So 2 to Granger Barras, 2 to Lemmy, 2 to Howes for the Pies. 8 points at halftime, and we're right there again, deep into time on in the third. Kennedy wrenched it off Charleston, but then couldn't get it out. And Wilson, the perfect pincer movement to win the ball back for the Blues.
This is where they get stuck, the Blues. Don't have to play perfect footy.
Intermediate option, Vickery. As Monahan flooding into space, he almost takes away the wider option that was there for Vickery and now becomes it. The Irishman shares it back to Wilson. Nearly had Mason get him from the blind side. Wilson trying to point out that Mason should have to stand the mark, and he is moving as he likes. Duffy to Monahan. Carlton's Irish connection. Link up. Duffy shaped it back into Lemmy. So they've been patient. Now can they take full advantage. Lemmy high and long, and that was just where Steen had Riley's number, reading it much better in flight.
Yeah, but the Blues forwards need to compete there. You need to at least bring that to ground. They had 2-on-1 there, and the Pies marked it. Not good enough.
Almost looked like Riley was looking for the body and Steen was looking for the football. Gray to Mulvogue. Cuts inside Lemmy. To half forward. Will get over the back of the contest. Phillips there to tidy it up for Carlton. Handball to Charlson. And he turns it over to Gray. Not the required distance. Binns tries to run him down. Watts spins through the first tackle, then dispossessed by Dozzy. Blues pile in. Ball up on the wing. 8-point game as it was at half-time.
Good intensity from the Blues there to come forward and cut that turnover play off from the Pies.
3-2 to both these teams in the quarter. Hayes laid the shepherd for Binns to escape. Lovely delivery to Lemmy. White, you can see working towards the top right corner of your screen. In the end, Lemmy will just have to bomb it high. Can Granger Barras get a run at this? Glover towards the line. What a game he's playing. Comes away and kicks it wide, out of bounds on the full. Carlton ball as we hit the 24.5-minute mark.
Again, Lib, we saw Sam Glover just intent on finding the ball and having no regard for an opponent. Game high 20 possessions for his team. Shaded only by Jackson Binns, who's got 23 for the Blues. Hogg, up goes Granger Barras. At least creates the spillage. And wouldn't they love Corey Durden to start getting a bit more involved in this game? He's had 9 possessions and 2 behind so far. Yet to have a possession in the third. As mentioned, 3-2 apiece, as you can see on screen. Brady Gray barking instructions, but he needs to find an opponent himself. Ben Camporeale, Hogg, Godfrey, steadies. Darcy Hogg, something to behold.
Well, this is just the epitome of being clean, thanks to Brady Hotels and Apartments, and taking the tackle on, driving your legs through the contest. That's brilliant work there by Hogg. 13 clearances to 4, Carlton this quarter. They've definitely had their fair share of possession.
As Nudge mentioned, 4 of the last 5 goals, just as it looked like they were dropping off the pace, they are back within 2 points. Critical few minutes remaining in this third term. Can the Pies surge again? Can Carlton actually hit the front? Riley to Hayes to Ramshaw. Awkward one controlled for Durden. His first touch is a kick for the quarter. Into Gray. Working towards the line is Corrali. Almost a back heel off Mulvogue, and it's out for a throw-in. There's Lucas Camporeale. He's had 17 touches tonight, same as his brother Ben. Leading the way is Binns, 23 in a goal. Will Hayes, 20 in a goal for the Blues, while Glover's had 20. Will Parker, 17. Di Mattia, 16 for the Pies.
See those clearance numbers there, well in Carlton's favour.
Corrali having a good night. Off to Matt O'Brien. Bennett's left to go in the air against Hogg. Spills towards Ben Camporeale, then it flicked to Wilson. Durden, Charlson, back to Wilson. Needs to get rid of it. Does so. Back to Charlson, who kept providing support. And that's a beautifully weighted kick. White went. Now Binns. And eventually they get it where they wanted it. And an opportunity for Luke Nelson to go back, kick his second for the term, and put the Blues in front.
I love what the Blues have brought in this third term. They've brought good intensity around the contest, but they've found a good balance between their handball and kicking game. And you can see they chained out corridor, but then they hit their kicks going inside 50.
So Luke Nelson already got 1 for the term. His 50th VFL goal in game 75. An opportunity here for the Blues to edge back in front. Luke Nelson. 45-degree angle, 25 out, and he steers it through. Carlton lead. Nelson with his second. And this has been a good fight back from Carlton, Lib.
It certainly has, and it shows there's fight in this club. You know, they've been speaking about how the VFL team is so important now in these last couple of games for this club, and they're showing that they want to win this match. And it's through their effort at the contest, but their ability to adjust to what the Pies are doing. And the Pies have been playing some good footy, but I love Lemming's role in this quarter. I think he's led up really well and opened up that forward line. But then also they've just been able to execute their kicks going inside.
Haven't had much to cheer about at AFL level in recent times, Nudge. So having a VFL team that's on a bit of a roll and making a push for finals at least gives a bit of energy and excitement around the place.
Yeah, and potential of some valuable cutthroat games for both younger players on both lists and some AFL-listed guys who need to press their case for another deal. Di Mattia out the front of the stoppage, and Carlton's lead is brief. Harry Di Mattia, he spoke to Andrew McCormack pre-game tonight about feeling like he was AFL ready. That's a snapshot in 20 seconds as to why. Picked 25 in the 2023 AFL draft. Tonight, his 26th match at VFL level, and he's ready all right. 17 touches, 7 inside 50s, and now a goal. And put those figures aside, a moment, Lib, a crucial moment. Your team's led for 2 quarters, the opposition get it back off 5 straight goals, and he goes and does that.
Yeah, a huge moment, particularly from a young player, shows good leadership.
And look at the swing in the live ladder. Blues dropped from 10th to 13th in 1 kick. Collingwood are up to 6th. Di Mattia is getting away from Ben Campriali at that last stoppage. Open access and made them pay. Pies back in front. Riley against Steen. Here's Durden into the middle of the ground. He gets the clearance this time. Inside 50. Contest spills to the front for Marnie. Measures the kick nicely. Steen. Important minutes here for the Blues. They've worked so hard to get back in front. O'Brien's kick gathered in by Bennett's. To a 2-on-2, and Glover's gone forward and he's marked everything tonight. And the Blues have just lost a bit of concentration in the last 60 seconds, and the Pies can make them pay with a couple of goals.
That's a fantastic coaching move to swing him down forward for the final minutes of this third term, because you know he's on fire tonight and he's going to mark anything. So I love that move from Otten.
Particularly brave when Carlton have been storming back and hit the front. If ever you wanted Sam Glover in defence, you'd think it'd be now. And Andy Otten might be rewarded with a little buffer. Back to 8 points as we were at half-time. So a bold coaching move, really, to take your best dominant defender as the team is getting inundated at the other end, swing him forward. He hits the scoreboard. He's been a very effective swingman right throughout his 76-game VFL career, kicked 63 goals, and it's back out to 8 points just like that.
Well, this is a game of strategy now, Jace, isn't it? It's a game at the coach's box, but also a game in the middle of the ground here. Clearance is so important, but Sam Glover just able to play both ends of the ground and so hard to play on when you don't know where he's going to end up, D50 or forward 50.
Just know he's going to mark it wherever he is.
Rare that he's marked one off a Collingwood kick tonight. 8 points the lead. Riley, Ben Campriali, diving hands of Steen at least impacted the trajectory and flight of the ball. Ramshaw, Will Hayes, it dribbles wide. White's going to have an option in bins, didn't quite get to his shoulder. Durden, terrific play, but bellying the ball. Ollie Warburton, young man who just needed a little bit more composure in the moment. He would have been able to just dribble that along the ground from 10 to 12 metres out, and instead Collingwood get ball back in hand and can try and manage the remaining seconds of the third quarter. Dean wants territory. Granger Barras. Riley with a good mark.
Particularly in the scheme of the game.
15 touches for Riley. Lemmy. White. Where's Durden? Di Mattia with another important possession. And Collingwood see off the danger once again in the shadows of a break.
So the Pies snuck away in that third term. Carlton came back, hit the front, and then Collingwood went bang, bang late to re-establish a 7-point lead as we turn for home. It's Collingwood 11-9-75. Carlton 10-8-68. 3-quarter time. Saturday night footy.
This VFL telecast is brought to you by Brady Hotels and Apartments, Melbourne CBD accommodation just minutes from Marvel Stadium and the MCG. This VFL telecast is brought to you by Chemist Warehouse. Save more money every year on your prescriptions.
Five goals apiece in that third term. Entertaining quarter of football. Darcy Hogg showed a bit of class, found his way through some traffic and finished. The Blues fighting back and putting themselves in front before Collingwood responded. Harry Di Mattia on the burst, streams through the front of the square and launches it to put the Pies immediately back in front. They then kicked another late through Sam Glover. He's had a super night. 21 possessions for him, 10 marks and a goal. Jackson Binns has had 23, Hayes 20 for the Blues. At 3-quarter time, it's the Pies, 11-9-75, leading Carlton 10-8-68. Critical game for both these teams. Believe the Blues have had more of the football all night. Inside 50 count, the Pies still just in front.
Yeah, it's been a great game to watch and call. Carlton chaos out of clearance. 16 clearances to the Pies, 6 in that term. That was the game changer for the Blues. I loved it because the Pies couldn't attack that last line.
Let's take you inside the Carlton camp. Here's Macca with coach Luke Power.
Well, it's a strange game for you guys because it has been on your terms and then not, and then it's sort of flipping and flopping. How have you found it?
No, pretty proud of our players. We found a way to get back into it when the game's sort of gone away from us a bit. We've got a couple of things that we need to fix up. They were intercepting a lot in the first half and we sort of needed to control that. I thought Ollie Warburton did a great job of going to Glover and trying to reduce his impact and just being able to equalise with our smalls ahead of the football and be able to put pressure once we do bring it to ground. We just need to keep the ball off our contest wins in the forward half for a little bit longer than we are.
You were sort of chipping the footy around, and especially in that first quarter. Are you going to continue that uncontested style, or have you changed that up a bit?
Oh, no, not necessarily. We need to play different modes. We need to be dynamic at times and be able to take the game on off turnover, but we also need to be composed at the right time. We know what type of game Collingwood are keen to play, so we understand that. So the balance of both of those is really important and will be important to the result.
You're down around the bench now with obviously Lewis Young done and Flynn Young, given he played last night. You obviously can't play him too many minutes tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you try and control what you can, being a VFL coach, and you know, obviously the management of those players is paramount, so we're on board with that.
Good on you, Luke. Thank you. And just confirming, Lewis Young, I mean, it looked awful, but I guess the silver lining is a right ankle injury. He's not on crutches, he's just got the ice on that right ankle, so thankfully that right knee all okay for now.
Yeah, it was a nasty twist, wasn't it, Liv? Got stuck underneath him.
Yeah, you never like to see that, and that's why the turf is so important, because you never want to get your foot stuck in the turf because it can create those rotational forces.
So Lewis Young, I'm sure, will get that ankle looked at the Blues' new imaging facility on Monday morning, or maybe even tomorrow. The final quarter action, thanks to Chemist Warehouse. The Pies lead it by 7 points. It was all locked up at quarter time. It was Collingwood by 8 at the half. 5 goals apiece in the third term. Sets the scene for this final quarter action. Ramshaw to Ben Camporeale. First inside 50 the term for the Blues. Granger Barras against Dean. Ball hits the deck. Here's Will White. Looks inside by hand. Lucas Camporeale. Can he hit a target? He can. And Luke Nelson is bobbing up in this third term. A chance to kick his third goal. This one from about 45 out.
The Blues in this second half have really had a lot more composure and poise when kicking inside 50, and it's made a heck of a difference, Jace.
That was a word that Luke Power used, composure. It's been a challenge with ball in hand for the Blues at both levels for much of the season. So Luke Nelson has kicked 2 to make it a 1-point game. 48 out. Gives it some height and gets it there. 3 to Nelson. 1-point game. Saturday night football.
Well, Luke Power spoke about poise and composure thanks to the Chemist Warehouse replay, and that's it. brilliant kick inside 50 to the advantage of a forward, and that's a fantastic kick nearly from the 50-metre mark there. But you can see the energy around the players, and that's what I love to see because they want to win this match, Jace.
Gave it everything, didn't he? You could see he was right on his range, just veered out to the right, launched it with all he had.
3 second-half goals for Luke Nelson. A trio of majors for the first time since round 17, 2022, when a Coburg Lion against Sandringham. And this has got vibes of the match early last year that we haloed to begin the coverage tonight. Ramshaw. Dean with a better recovery. Twisted in the hog tackle. Look at his second effort. Got out to Warburton, who's stopped by Di Mattia. So it was 12-11 to 12-10 in round 3 last year. Ned Long, when he was a VFL-listed player, the match-winning point at the 27-minute mark of the final quarter. Ben DeLucas, Dozzy, Air, thumps it wide. Dean, O'Brien over the top of Ramshaw. Gray forced to kick off a single step. Tangle between Duffy and Howes. Good effort from the Irishman. It was flipped up by Howes. Marnie received from Kennedy. Blues win it back. Wilson just needed to be a bit longer and higher with the kick. O'Brien to Gray, who steps Vickery, who clasps nothing but oxygen. Phillips doing his job with the intercept.
Ethan Phillips has been good down back tonight for the Blues. This is an important kick here.
Thought about the short to Boyd, but he was going to be shut down. That's a better option. Finds Flynn Riley. Was looking for a runner coming past.
And this is what they've been better at. Luke Power spoke about it, but they're just the changes in tempo, not going too fast, not going too slow.
Kick down the line. And Ben Cambriali frustrated. So a 1-point game. Approaching the 4-minute mark of the final term. Riley against Steen. Steen wins it. Free kick. Going Collingwood's way. It's going to Oscar Steen. He's going to kick it long. Sets it up towards the wing. There'll be a big pack under this one. Boyd was taken high by Di Mattia. Earns the free kick. Immediately looks inside to the corridor. He'll retreat. Try and stretch this defence a little wider. And then up the middle. Wilson receives from Phillips and then does really well. Steps the man. Kicks towards half forward to the advantage of Durden.
Coming towards him was Granger Barras, but he missed him by a metre, and then Dean tops it off with the fend off, and away go the Pies. Corrali, he hits the target short. Howes. Cox is out the back of the Carlton defence. It's in range now for Parker to get it to Mason, who has to fly and halve the contest on Phillips. He is bundled away. Lower centre of gravity, the best friend of Jordan Boyd, to Hogg. Can Carlton counterpunch Lucas Camporeale? Marnie won't get to Warburton, but it's sort of on the drive home to Mansfield. Hogg, air standing the mark. Darcy Hogg continuing to clock up the Ks. Look at that work rate. He's going to present again here, as is Wilson. Riley recovers. Warburton, it gets to White, unselfishly headed for Durden and Lemmy. Parker elected to pick it up.
Blues getting some good forward halftime here, but what I love is they're just not bombing it inside 50. They're chaining it across laterally outside the arc to create better angles for their forwards.
That Jordan Boyd bump will be on the coach's video on a Monday. Very well executed indeed. Di Mattia out to Cochrane, and the Pies can exit defensive 50 to Kennedy. Blues will push numbers back and try to cover up, but the short is on, and Air has it. Ryan Air, 7th game of VFL tonight from Castlemaine. High kick. Howes was up. Di Mattia was down. Handball intended for Corrali. Kick goes inside 50. Good effort. Josh Bennett's had position on Monaghan. Kept his eyes on the football. He can go back and re-establish a little buffer for the Pies.
Well, Bennett, that's a terrific mark because Monaghan did everything that he could there. Coming back, eyes on the footy, tried to spoil it, and Monaghan just used his body so well to protect the space out the back.
Josh Bennett's with the knee to keep Monaghan at bay. And can now go back with a really important kick. Could be his second of the evening, and once again, just give the Pies a little bit of breathing space. Not with that. Opportunity goes begging. They double their lead, but it's only 2 points.
Shows the Pies are feeling a little bit of pressure, and so they should. The Blues are playing some good footy in this second half.
Boyd finds Wilson. Wilson to Hogg. Happy to hug the line of play on the southern side of Icon Park to Lucas Camporeale. So the Twins both with 21 apiece tonight. Glover couldn't muscle his way forward, and that left Warburton at the back. Flies it to White, did well to get it back to Warburton, who just needs to be clean because he's got Hayes, who fell over, can go off the ground, scoop it into the hands of Gray. Carlton finding new and creative ways to turn the ball over by foot.
Oh, Will Hayes would love that moment again.
Brady Gray. Marnie worked the big man underneath it, took the grab.
And those moments are important, particularly in this tight game as well.
Marnie goes short to Di Mattia. 20-second touch for Harry. Thought about the short option to Gray. Instead, he'll take it to the outside. Find Cochrane. O'Brien offers short. Cochrane just beats the man on the mark. Riley in best position. Mason Cox came from the back. Ball spills to Lucas Camporeale, put the head down, fed it to Charlson, and Duffy happy to see it out. 2-point game. There's been very little between the two teams all night. We knew coming in it was going to be a fantastic contest, and so it's proven to be. Biggest lead, Collingwood, early in the third term, led by 20 points. Carlton led by 19 early in the first after they kicked the first 3 goals, but gee, there hasn't really been much between them for much of the night. Those two scores very much the outliers. It's been within single figures for most of it. Di Mattia to Steen, a fumble. Cochrane on the overlap. High kick. Big fly over the top from Bennett's. Couldn't bring it down. Now he hunts it on the deck. Finds it. Gives it to Will Hayes. He slips away from Binns. Hayes, dangerous spot. Well done, Lucas Camporeale against a couple. Di Mattia front and centre. Pops the handball inside. Marnie goes bang and misses. Max Marnie.
So many great plays in that call there, Jace. Bennett's with the fly, the athleticism, and then Camporeale to spoil. Amazing play there to not only try and kick a goal, but save a goal.
Max Marnie trying the outside of the right boot as he did to the left of screen to goal in the opening quarter, and Ben Camporeale loses the arms in Corrali, dealt with by Durden in the aftermath. Luke Nelson with the only goal of the quarter. It came a minute in as Will Hayes marks for the Blues, his 23rd of the night. Ramshaw left it, mark to Will White. Velocity on the kick, a trio of options. Granger Barras wins it in the middle, and that's much better from the Blues to locate the dangerous types inside forward 50.
Yeah, but it's through corridor. They used it so beautifully on transition, and then to roll and go. I love the roll and go because that means you can get out the back of the Pies defence. It also means they can't set up.
Denver Granger Barras in his second game for Carlton's VFL team tonight. Played the match on Good Friday against the Roos. No denying what's that outcome is.
No edge required there.
Snicko.
That thundered into the centre of the post. 2-point game. Approaching the 12-minute mark of the final term on Saturday night footy. Marnie's kick for Jake Watts on debut. It's been a long time coming. This is 11th touch. It's a good one too. He brings it inside to another debutant, Doug Kerr. So the Pies with a couple of debutants combining. Kerr played a couple of games, St Kevin's under-19s in the Ammos this season. Lovely kick towards Cox. Will Hayes, Binns, Vickery. Di Mattia tries to beat him for the football and does. Vickery came back for more. It spills to Dozzy. He shapes the kick. Awkward one for Nelson, but he'll get a free kick. He's kicked 3 in the second half. Gee, it was a clever kick from Dozzy. Adjusted late. No one stands the mark. So Nelson spears it in low and flat. Beautiful delivery. Granger Barras, almost the identical spot.
I love the work rate from Vickery, second, third and fourth efforts on the wing there. And brilliant. If no one's on the mark, take meterage. It gives you a deeper kick inside 50, and the Blues have done that magnificently in this fourth term.
Last one thundered off the post from almost an identical position.
Can he adjust?
Can he slot it through and give Carlton the lead once again? Granger Barras, same kick.
It's gone tight.
Same result. 1-point game.
An overcorrection from Granger Barras. Glover, the turnover comes. Durden will get his chance. He had a quiet third term. Corey Durden can go back and try and give Carlton their first lead since time on in the third.
The Blues, they've had 7 inside 50s to 3. They need to make some of these count.
One of the more experienced Blues on the park tonight. 57 AFL games. Carlton lead the Pies. We've so much spoken tonight about Collingwood's capacity to score off turnover on the Chemist Warehouse replay. The Blues have got 5 of their 12 from that mechanism.
Yeah, they've done well, particularly in this second half. They've tightened up defensively, and they know the Pies are going to chip, particularly when they're kicking out. Glover there just miskicked, and in such a good spot, the Blues, to really press and keep it in that forward half.
Last time, Carlton managed to get their nose in front. Di Mattia busted out of the middle and kicked a goal. 5 seconds later, Lemmy's gone into the ruck against Cox. This time, Camporeale gets first use of the football. Dozzy towards half forward. Will White works hard, smothers the bounce. Can he get rid of Mulvogue? He can. Handball inside. Dozzy uses Camporeale. Can he hit a target in the pocket? Floats it. Durden came over the top. Still alive. Hogg does well. Granger Barras with the Amy Clanger. Coming across is Max Marnie, and 5 points go begging.
No librarian then. That was just a straight-out mugging.
Oh, a massive missed opportunity there.
New and creative ways to turn the ball over earlier on. Now Denver Granger Barras with 3 of the more varied behinds you'll see. Watts. He's getting the ultimate introduction to VFL tonight. Kennedy had to make the contest on Vickery, given the kick was shallow. Has that come off his boots? Not so.
Oh, it hurts too when you don't get that nourishment from the amount of inside 50s that they're getting. 8 inside 50s this quarter for Carlton, but they've been good, and that one was from the goal square, and it just hurts. It stings for all the work you did to get it down there.
Riley v Cox. Di Mattia v Dozzy. Cox has Hayes at his bumper bar, got the kick out, hand on it, Wilson. Bennett's wins the ground ball, and Lucas Camporeale with some really assertive moves tonight, like the games of both Ben and Lucas. Jace, 24 and 23 respectively. They're playing the game in the right manner and have got to be putting themselves in the selection frame at AFL level.
Putting together some consistent footy. doing some of the hard stuff. We know ball use has been an issue for all the players who are struggling to get into the side, but tonight Lucas has gone at 77% by foot and Ben 63, which is well above their season averages. Exactly what Michael Voss and the coaching staff want to see. That one's gone out of bounds, and it will be a throw in. So we hit the 17.5-minute mark on what's been a thoroughly entertaining game.
It's going to be a great finish.
6-point lead to the Blues. Riley versus Cox. Dozzy has been good. Campriali was being held by Jake Watts.
And that's what happens when you get a bit of the footy. The Pies get a little worried and you get held.
It's come back to Dozzy. He's been busy, 21st touch for him. Just sets it up, gives it some height for Riley. Mason Cox will come over the top. Front and centre was Will White. Down the line, Pies have got a 2-on-1 here. Well done, O'Brien. Handball missed Glover, though. Hoggs had some great moments, and that's another one. White cuts inside on the angle. Nelson's kicked 3 in the second half. Can he turn provider here? Chips to the pocket. No one goes for the Blues. It's marked by Corrali.
Don't Carlton look more potent when they're prepared to chain it by hand in their front half and breach 50 before kicking it? Air has a gaze at the corridor and really cued Parker with his eyes to present. Will Parker off a third of a game last night. He's about to have his 20th touch. Busy 24 hours.
So hard to defend, Nige, when you're using those hands to get forward momentum, because you're also sucking up a defender to come forward and then you can get over the back.
Air to Dean. Dean for Bennett, who's got some jets, but instead checks it for Cox, who got away from Riley, was going to be too tall and have too longer arms for Cooper Vickery. Mason Cox, his best, can get the 50-plus required. Goal in the second quarter. He kicked the 5th of 5 straight for the Pies as they went from being 19 down to 13 in front. Phillips with the last hand on it. And another fun 10 minutes coming up in this storied rivalry.
Jordan Boyd will have the kick in as we head towards time on in the final term on Saturday night footy. It's been a fun one. Boyd, precise to Phillips.
Blues need to keep playing the way that they've been playing.
Now to Wilson, just the bare minimum distance. Got to hold your nerve here, Liv, don't you? One turnover in this sort of situation could ultimately cost you the game.
You do, and you need to keep getting territory because that's going to relieve pressure.
Charlson. Now Ben Campriali didn't give the handball pass, which was probably the right option. They want kick mark at the moment. Phillips. And they get it to the wing with no risk.
It's good play here. Keeping the ball off the Pies.
Lucas Campriali. In the end, he has to kick long to a contest, but it's wide. Off hands, Granger Barras couldn't find it on the ground. Dozzy, been in everything. Ben Campriali got the hands free. Riley was ripped off his kick, so it's going to pitch in a dangerous spot here. Gray will take it and then release the handball. Marnie, Parker. Pies can potentially get out here. This is Max Marnie. Thought about the give, instead he'll go inside. Blues need to fold back here. Collingwood pressing, Parker has it on the wing.
Isn't he getting involved late? As are the Marnies. Deep option was presenting there for the Pies. Murphy trapped behind Boyd. He got hands on him. Boyd with a rare hand pass. Outside of the boot, Binns. Warburton had to go the fist on the taller Cochrane. Pies turn it back over, but might give it back again. Hands in Monahan. Massive ground ball to win. Bennett does just that. To Kennedy. And misses.
I love what the Blues are doing, filling the corridor and taking out what the Pies have had all night, which is that corridor kick.
3 behinds for Harrison Kennedy this evening. Margin sits at 4. We've played 22 minutes. Final term. See the look of confusion on Jordan Boyd's face. No obvious option. Billy Wilson sneaks to the pocket. Boyd will go longer than that. Lemmy's his target. Takes the grab, doesn't let him down.
Great mark there. Exactly what you need. A big contested mark on the wing.
So this is where the Blues get to test their system and their education. Are they all on the same page? They understand what you need to be doing in this scenario. Billy Wilson next in line. He has to kick it to a contest. Granger Barrass. Dean. Handball inside. Parker pops over the top. Here's a chance for Air. He gives it off. Marnie runs into Bins. Look for his brother. Handball came from Harry to Max. The Blues got a little lucky there.
Very lucky. That come forward saved the day there. That's exactly what the Pies want. They want that forward handball, but it's so important you come forward to that. Otherwise, they can chew you up.
2-3 to 4 behinds in the last quarter. The Pies 4 behinds from just 6 inside 50s. Cox knocks it forward. Monahan looking for the body was Dean and almost got the mark on Granger Barrass. Kick free Warburton. Smith after it, wait for the call.
It was touched by the Collingwood player on the way through.
It's the Collingwood side of the divide unhappy with the call. Sunday footy feast from midday building up to the Crows and Melbourne as Adelaide look to consolidate their top 4 claims on a weekend where the top 9 fixtured against the bottom 9 of the AFL ladder. Cox dabbed it to Hayes, Parker, Ramshaw. Number there, Smith left it, play on the call. Gray instinctively got it out. Monahan marks. One of his better showings tonight. Rob Monahan, this will be possession 18. A number he hasn't been anywhere near in his time. Jackson Binns calling for calm, and with only 2 goals in the quarter, it might not be a long one.
They're all calling for calm, but there is a lot of time left, and you need to still be able to gain territory with these kicks. You can't keep going lateral.
Hayes goes for territory down the line. Riley flies. Air couldn't get the kick away. Well done, Ben Campriali. Lovely give, Di Mattia. How slick was that? And then Marnie popped the handball to Kerr. He's dispossessed. Durden, can he hit a target? He can. Granger Barrass lunges and marks just inside. And now, after a couple of nervous misses in the last quarter, we'll go from long range on the boundary lip.
It's a great kick, but this is where you do need to go back to your practice. Your set shot practice, what's your routine?
And what needs to be happening for the rest of the Carlton players while Denver Granger Barrass is setting up?
Well, with the way he's going, he could kick another point, so you need to set up defensively for this quick exit, which the Pies have been very good at all night.
He goes with a drop punt and misses the lot.
So this is why setting up, numbering off is so important when he's having a shot for goal to create, make sure those outlets are all gone, because the Pies are going to go corridor here.
2-2 and 1 out on the full for Granger Barrass. It's been a mixed bag tonight.
And there's the corridor kick.
Last roll of the dice maybe for the Pies, and Cox just gets it moving quickly. It's into space. Can Phillips get there for the Blues? Just thumps it back to try and take some space. And Carlton keep on rolling with a win over the old enemy. The Blues have won 6 of their last 8. They jump up into the top 10. And next up, they'll face a critical clash against Brisbane on Friday afternoon at Icon Park. The Magpies will head north to face Gold Coast. It's Carlton, 12-11-83, defeating Collingwood, 11-13-79. Scores level at quarter time, Collingwood by 8 at the half, 7 at 3/4 time. Carlton kicked 2 goals, 3. The Pies 4 behinds in the final term. And they get the points, the 4 points. That's the margin and the reward. Macca is with Jackson Binns.
Jackson, gee, it's been a tough, period for the club, but that is a great win.
Yeah, like you said, it's been a bit tough in the AFL, but for us, we just bring the energy all week. and wins are coming on the board for us in the VFL. So it's been good fun.
Yeah, you're in great form now. You're putting together a real solid block now and pushing into that top 10, which is great. How have you sort of found it coming back? The energy of the guys, I mean, it must give the club just that little bit of spark, to know that there's guys playing good footy, at least at the level below.
Yeah, I think, like you said, boys are just playing their role. They're happy to play their role. And then, off the back of that, hopefully we can get some opportunity in the seniors. But, we're just happy playing and winning games.
I think all of us who have played a sport at any level have copped a spray from a coach at some stage, and I know it gets highlighted obviously at a level above. How have you sort of found that? And you're obviously playing good footy because you come back here and you get 28 odd touches and part of a great win. How did you sort of handle that period? Yeah, well, that's footy in the end. I feel like that's a show of respect that Vossi expects better from me. So, like I said, that's footy. So we get on with it and keep coming back and playing your role, and hopefully reward will come on the back of it. Yeah. Do you reach out with him or further that conversation obviously happens, with a less emotion behind closed doors? What does it look like a week after that?
Yeah, definitely. We sat down and got some clarity on where I went wrong and what I need to get better at. And Vossi's been unbelievable with me, especially. So, Yeah.
And, tonight it's a tough game against an old enemy, but this gives you real belief moving forward. You've got a lot of young guys in this VFL team, but, they're standing up when they need to.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully some boys will get some reward on the back of it. I think Benny Camporelli's really, really starting to play some really good footies. Same with his brother Lucas. So, hopefully the boys can get some reward and we can keep pushing.
Yeah, they're both superb tonight, and Benny's been in great form, mate. You got some signatures, I think, and some photos to got tonight. Hey, sing the song, enjoy it, and good luck for whatever happens for the rest of the year.
No, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jackson.
Cheers.
He was superb tonight. Jackson Binns as Carlton get the job done on their old enemy, arch rivals Collingwood by 4 points. And now to break down what is a huge round of football right across the country, and still a few good games to come as well, might I add. AFL Saturday Rewind with Kate Massey and Nigel Carmody. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Macca. On the Saturday Rewind, the luckless Bombers with yet another loss as the Suns surge at Marvel Stadium.
Jezza joins the